Good evening and welcome to the November 18th, 2014 meeting of the Windham School Board. We're going to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with some introductions. Down on my far right is board member Mr. Rob Breton. Next to me is board member Mr. Mike Jonas. I'm your chair, Jerry Ricard. Vice chair is here. He'll be in a moment, Dennis Senabaldi. Then we have board member Mr. Ken Eyring. Then we have our two student representatives. We have Mr. Jim Gustafson and we have Mr. Will Carpenter. Then we have Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Winfred Fenneberg, the Director of Business Finance and Operations, Mr. Adam Steele, and the Board Secretary, Ms. Diane Figueroa. That being said, now we will take public comment.
Okay, I have Bill McNally is first.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Bill McNally from 7 Blueberry Road in Windham. I'm a board member of the Samuel L. Blumenfeld Literacy Foundation in Windham. I have two items tonight. My first item is, let me just read a couple quotes here. In November 2007, the National Endowment for the Arts released its report on the American reading disaster. Here's a quote. If an unfriendly foreign power had attempted to impose on America the mediocre education performance that exists today, we might well have viewed it as an act of war. As it stands, we have allowed this to happen to ourselves. One more quote from the National Endowment of the Arts. Chairman Dana Gaiora stated, "This is a massive social problem. We are losing the majority of the new generation. They will not achieve anything close to the potential because of poor reading." And she goes on to say that the number of 17-year-olds who never read for pleasure increased from 9% in 1984 to 19% in 2004. Almost half of Americans between ages 18 and 24 never read books for pleasure. Why is that? Because there's a reading problem. Okay, what I have here is a question for the school board. It's a rhetorical question, and what I have here is the list of all the school board members. I'd like to leave that, and then as you read it, if you check it off and pass it down, then when it gets down to the last member, maybe I could pick it up because I want to save on paper. It's only 16 pages long, all right? Here's the question that it states. It says, can dyslexia be artificially induced in school? Yes, says researcher Edward Miller. That's my one agenda. Of course, the Blumenfeld Foundation that I belong to, it seeks to promote literacy throughout the world. The other agenda I have is that in the Windham Independent, a letter was written regarding the school board's decisions on processes that I guess deal with public input. It was written by Mr. Ken Eyring. And I'm here to ask the school board from here on in, if each of you, when you're going to make a decision, you will include 5 members, because I go down to the voting booth and I vote for 5 of you, and I expect you to work as a team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob Cool.
All right.
Good evening. Bob Cool, Morrison Road. I'm a little confused about something, so I hopefully you can straighten me out. Let's read the quarterly expense report, which I have here. And I see you have the account number, description, budget, adjustments, GL budget, current year, to date, balance, and encumbrance. I was wondering what GL budget means.
It stands for General Ledger Budget, so it's the budget after any adjustments that have been made.
Okay. So, if I go to a point here and I see like lead accountant, and it gives the starting salary budget in the budget, then there's an adjustment. I take that is a pay increase. Okay. And so this pay increase for this person, if I remember correctly, last year was $50,000. Town voted in this year's budget to give a $1,500 bonus, a pay increase for the 51.5. I have no problem with people getting pay increases. Okay, that's what I just wanted to let know. But all this means is two things. When I checked the proposed budget for the coming year, it's the same thing. It says on the budget, it says increase. Now, I don't know if that increase is being proposed for fiscal year 16, or if that was an increase for fiscal year 15.
So the way non-union salaries work is we budget folks at exactly the same salary they have today. So in this case, this person's making $55,000 a year as a salary. So her salary for next year is budgeted at $55,000. Next year, should she be given a salary increase based on her performance review, money will be transferred from the non-union salary budget to her salary account to account for that raise that she gets. So it's not a guaranteed raise that she's going to get, and the amount of raise is not guaranteed. So we don't budget for it in her account as a raise. We budget for all of the raises for non-union folks in one line item so that money can be transferred to them after their performance reviews. So it shows up as a budget adjustment for the current year. She got a raise this year that went from $51,500 to $55,000. That was her raise for this year. So next year, she's budgeted at $55,000, which shows as an increase from a budgetary basis from $51,500 where it was budgeted this year to the $55,000 where it's budgeted next year.
So, if I understand what you're telling me, in the past, like we did this past year in March and voted on a budget increase that was in the line item, which was what we have been doing for years and years and years, so that taxpayers know where their money's going. Now we don't know where the money's going. It's interesting to note that when you guys sit down and go over the budget, that the item for non-union salary increases for last year, in the year 2014, is $53,000. And for the coming year, for the proposed year, it's going to be $127,000. And according to my figures, over a 2-year period, that's a 38% increase. Okay. As a taxpayer, I like to know where my money's going. I figure if people are going to get a raise, let them get a raise, and all that. But I kind of look upon this as now something like the Affordable Care Act. The only way you're going to find out what you're getting is to vote on it. Whereas before, we would know. It would have been in the budget. I see this as a change.
Yeah, if I could, to be clear, before I came here, raises for non-union salary folks was not budgeted. There was no raises budgeted for custodians, administrators, administrative assistants, secretaries. None of those folks had raises budgeted anywhere in the budget. And so if anyone got a raise, it came out of some other pool of money, I don't know where. It wasn't something that was delineated. Everyone got raises, but where that money came from, it was not budgeted. So I've started to budget specifically a line item that says non-union salary pool.
Yeah.
That indicates this is for non-union folks to get a raise, and it's clearly spelled out in the budget. So I don't know how to be more transparent than that. If we budget every single individual's salary account with a raise in it, that might create an expectation that everyone's going to get the same raise, not based on their performance reviews.
Well, the thing was, before we came here, the way I see it, the way I remember it, is people just got a cost of living adjustment. Okay? And that was in their line item. If it said salaries, it was increased a certain percentage, and that's how it was done.
It's not, those aren't the books that I saw when I read. Maybe well before the people, but, you know, there was a string of, 5 BAs within 5 or 6 years? So maybe at some point in time that was done, but not what I inherited when I read.
Now, it seems to me the way I'm reading this, though, is that what is proposed for the fiscal year 16 is what is already in effect now, with the exception of the non-union salary budget line. Am I correct on that?
Correct. What's budgeted is exactly what people are being paid today as their salary. That's what's budgeted.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Eileen Machino.
Eileen Mashimo, Netherwood Road. I'm very concerned about the vast number of fund transfers that occur during the year. It seems that what the taxpayers approve to be spent on the budget in certain areas and where the funds are actually spent are very different. Case in point, in fiscal year 2014 budget ending June of 2014, for the superintendent's office miscellaneous expenses, budgeted amount was $3,000. But sometime during the year, additional money was transferred into that account, and actual spent in the superintendent's miscellaneous account was $29,226.62. This fiscal year, the budgeted amount is again $3,000, but through just the first quarter, over $3,000 has already been spent, and another $3,000 has already been encumbered. The superintendent's budget for dues and fees this year is $8,000, but already $16,000 has already been spent. This is an issue of leadership, ethics, and honesty by the administration. There is something seriously wrong here when administration is allowed to overspend their personal office budgets by simply transferring money into an account at will. It's just not right.
Ms. Moshimo?
There was no more.
All right. So from there, I think let's go ahead and open the public hearing.
Would you like a motion to do so?
I would love a motion to open the public hearing. One thing to note is the amount here is a little bit different.
I'm just going to open it up.
All right.
So I'd like to make a motion to open a public hearing under RSA 198:20, dash B for the purpose of discussing a donation.
Second.
Can you make it to, can you amend it to accept a donation?
For the purpose, well, we're going to accept the donation during the public hearing or after? I believe the public hearing we're just going to discuss.
We're going to discuss it. So
Okay. Is that all right?
That's fine. All right, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, Mr. Breton?
Aye.
Mr. Jonas?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, okay, 5-0, so the public hearing is now open. If anybody would like to come up and discuss, what we have here are two donations. One is, both of them, are from the Jaguar Boosters. One for $7,000 to support the JV hockey team to cover ice time. And the other is $5,825 to the Windham High School swim and dive team for pool time. So it's for water. And we've got, and that's very generous because ice time at 7,000. That's, I don't play hockey, but that's, wow. So that is fantastic. So does anyone from the public? I'll come rushing at one time. If you could just come up to the podium, Mr. Cole.
Just for clarification, on your agenda, it says 5.
That was a typo.
Okay, so it's been changed, is it? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. What happened is the RSA, because anything exceeding 5,000, so then there was a little misstep. So the first number should be 7,000, the second number is correct.
Okay. Just want to keep you straight.
Yep.
I provided the chair with the original email, so that's where the typo came in. Apologies for that.
I've got that directly from Mr. Raycraft. All right, not seeing anybody else come up.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right. So now, entertain a motion to accept the donation. To do them together or one at a time, however you want to do it. All right.
Mike?
So I'd like to make a motion that the Windham School Board accept the donation from the Windham High School Jaguar Boosters of $7,000 to support JV hockey and $5,825 to support the Windham High School swim and dive team with our thanks and gratitude.
Second. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much to the boosters. So from there, I think we'll go to the superintendent and opening remarks.
Just very quickly, I would like to point out that tomorrow morning, we have a breakfast in appreciation of our bus drivers. PTA generously sponsors this annual event at the Windham Central School at 9 o'clock. Certainly the board members, if anybody's looking for breakfast, feel welcome to come. It's organized by the PTA, and the purpose really is to thank the bus drivers for transporting our kids safely to and from school. And it's always a nice event to give back a little bit to the people that we entrust our kids with. We have had an enrichment committee meeting, and I don't know whether Dr. Ricard wants to talk about that on the school board comments later on, because you attended. It was the opening committee meeting to get underway a process of looking at enrichment in the district, exploring different solutions. I think there's a fair number of parents and some staff members there, and if you don't mind at a later point to just add to that, or now, just to give a quick overview of so the agenda, where we want to go with this committee.
Right, certainly. This is something that Mrs. Bagdon and I had talked about over the summer, and certainly I know Mr. O'Connor had mentioned as well. And the idea here is, as we all know, enrichment is something that we used to offer in this district and no longer do. And so I wanted to get together a group of our faculty members, administrators, the director of curriculum instruction and assessment, as well as a fair number of parents, and we were able to do so. And I wanted us really to just sit down and start discussing not just enrichment, but also gifted and talented in this district, and to really start thinking in a creative way about ways to deliver that, not to think about just what are the constraints or what are the barriers to delivering that, but what can we do? How do we get creative? How do we bring in the community? Are there ways to do it where it doesn't affect the tax rate? So really just the agenda is for us to come up with as many ideas as possible and then start narrowing them down from there. And we will be meeting again this Friday, I believe at 11 a.m. again. Let me look here. Yep, at 11 a.m. at the SAU, and certainly anyone is welcome.
Perfect.
Question about that?
Yeah.
Just so the public knows, who serves on the committee? Is it, do you know the names?
I have a whole list of names here if people are interested.
Just so people know.
Yeah, Rory O'Connor, Kathy Bates, Dan Moulis, I only have a first name, Wanda, Ellen Thibodeau, Brenda Morrow, Jerry Ricard, Katie Smith, Kathy Croto, Jennifer Caracito, Janice Hurley, Allison Miller, and Danielle Stuckard. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name.
Thank you.
And also a piece of very good news, I received notification from the College Board that Windham School District is one of 547 school districts in the United States and Canada that have been placed or earned a spot on the 5th annual AP District Honor Roll. And there is a study period of 2 years from 2012 to 2014, very strict criteria. Among those is that districts had to increase or maintain participation and access to AP courses and students taking the test. They had to increase or maintain the percentage taken by minorities. And also an improvement of performance levels when compared to 2012 levels and 2014 for students that scored a 3 or higher. This criteria was waived if more than 70% of your AP students were already had passing tests. Ours are in the high 80s, so we easily made that criterion. I wanted the board to be aware of this excellent performance of the high school, and obviously our students as well. We will receive a certificate and a poster, and I'm planning to issue a press release tomorrow just to publicize that. I also was contacted from the Department of Education today that they had heard about this on the separate cover, and they are linking our district information, our performance on their website. So I think a piece of good news and to be proud of, and I wanted to share that with you. And we'll certainly put it on the district and the high school websites and social media and try to publicize that as best as possible. I was glad to hear that. Mr. Steele wanted to give a brief update on the bond refinancing.
Yeah, as we spoke about a number of months ago, the board authorized a resolution to consider refinancing. The technical term is refunding the high school bond. We've moved forward with that process. We went through a ratings process with S&P, and we were given an upgrade to our bond rating of AA-, which is very good. That means we don't need to have bond insurance for this upcoming offering. Our financial analyst, which is PFM, and our underwriter want to schedule a call tomorrow to finalize everything to start moving forward. And it's likely that we will be able to take our bond sale to the market next Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So the board had indicated they wanted to be updated on this process. I'm giving that update at this time. Based on the resolution the board passed, you authorized myself and the superintendent to sign a bond sale contract, should that move forward. So if the board is not ready to move forward, we need to know that and perhaps schedule another meeting of the board to discuss if you do not want to move forward. If any board members want to join in on the call tomorrow, if one or two of you want to do that tomorrow to be involved and understand what that process looks like on the back end, we can certainly do that. But at this point, based on a net present value basis of accounting, we're looking at a savings of about $1 million in real dollars if we move forward with the refunding.
I mean, that's up, because I think last time we talked, we were only talking 600 or so.
It has gone up, correct. The bond market's in good shape.
Quickly. Sell them.
The financial analyst feels as if they're kind of pushing for before Thanksgiving, and I'm trusting their judgment on that. They just did Bedford just sold theirs a week or two ago and did very well as well, so it seems like the market's in good shape right now. It could always go lower, go higher. Of course, nobody knows what that looks like, but as of right now, we're in the ballpark of $1 million.
So, and just so everyone's aware, we're on the same page, is we're selling them, we're not extending time or anything, all we're doing is reducing the amount we have to pay.
At this point, we do have the option of realigning the sequence of payments and whatnot. We're not planning to do that at this time. We're already expecting a significant drop in the fiscal year 17 payments for the high school, so we should still experience that unless the board were to say we want to do something different, which I don't foresee us needing to do that at this point. We've got a fixed obligation in the high school, and we want to pay it off as quickly as we can without extending or reducing the amount of time that we have there. So at this point in time, we're planning to keep the same schedule and just simply reduce our payments.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
So moving into main issues, I think the first is not necessarily an issue, but a recognition.
Sure. I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Jim Flynn, temporary interim assistant principal at Golden Brook School. And I wanted to take this opportunity together with the board to thank you very much, to acknowledge your service to Golden Brook yet again after 30 years plus career in the district. Mr. Flynn helped us out when we had an administrative change over the summer with very little time to find a replacement. He jumped into the task and offered his services in interim assistant principal, helping Principal O'Connor start the year, and a wonderful start to the year, I must say. So it was certainly great to see the staff welcome you, and you have just brought so much spirit to the school and to the kids and the families, I think, and together with the school board and administration, just felt that the school is well taken care of with having you there. So I wanted to thank you personally, and I wanted to give the board chair an opportunity to acknowledge you as well, and extend our heartfelt thanks to you.
The feeling is mutual. I enjoy
Right over here, both of the podium,
Just a
Mr. Flynn.
Just for a minute.
I thank you, the board, Mr. Fennenberg, Mr. O'Connor. The feeling is mutual. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and in a million years, I never thought that I'd ever go back as administrator at Golden Brook School. I've been to the other schools, but never back at Golden Brook. I thank Mr. O'Connor. He was a great guy to work with, and your school is in good hands. So thank you again, and I thoroughly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's the board.
I just want to say, I had the pleasure of meeting you, Mr. Flynn, just a few days ago, and I appreciate your seeking me out. I shared with you at the time, and I'd like to share with the rest of the board and the people who are watching, what a wonderful job both you and Mr. O'Connor have done at the school. I've heard so many great positive things. Morale is soaring. People are really, really thrilled about the environment that you guys put together in the first couple months of school, so thank you very much.
Just quickly, I've had some great opportunities being a board member, but one of the best experiences I've ever had was the rousing standing ovation at the opening day breakfast when it was announced that Mr. Flynn was going to step in and help us out. So again, just thank you for that. Again, one of the things I'll always remember from serving on the school board is it was that moment, so thank you.
I'll jump in as well. I think I commented at the first meeting we had here after the beginning of the school year that I had the opportunity to be in line with my first grader, teacher visit day, and it was just a flurry of activity. There was a million things going on, and the first thing that I really saw when I walked in was Mr. Flynn, walkie-talkie in hand, getting people where they needed to go, and it was a flashback for me because I'm one of the people old enough to have had a child at Golden Brook when Mr. Flynn was actually the principal there. So we go back quite a long way, and so I appreciated it then, and I certainly appreciate it now. Thank you for what you did, and I echo everybody's sentiments, and the morale is high, and Mr. O'Connor is off to a great start and doing no small part to your help this year, so thank you.
I'll also add to that, I had several teachers come up to me talking about morale, liking the way the administration, the direction is going over there. They were very happy to have you back. 2 or 3 of them come up to me, where I work at the transfer station in town here, and they're all happy to see it. And my understanding is, he was actually one of your students, if I'm not mistaken?
Absolutely right. Then and now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Still learning from him. Oh, absolutely.
I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much said, and, I agree with Mike, being at the opening day breakfast and the reception. It was like Bono was in town. It was, the auditorium was rocking, and it has continued to do so. I agree. I mean, the good news has reverberated out, and that's fantastic, and I think that it's both the foundation that you laid after years and years at Golden Brook and now coming back out of retirement. This was like the first time Jordan came out of retirement. He got another 3 championships. We're not going to talk about the others. So, thank you, sincerely. The board has a little something for you, and we just really appreciate everything that you've done. And the only thing I'm sorry about is that we didn't get you out of here in time to hit the links. That's all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we'll move now. We've got a number of members of the Facilities Committee here, and so I think we'll give them a chance. I think they have a presentation for us. 30,000-foot view maybe, but a presentation nonetheless. So I'm not sure who or the whole team. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you for allowing us to come here tonight and make a presentation. I apologize in advance, it's not 100% complete yet. We are looking at making a recommendation that provides renovations at 3 of the schools, the Golden Brook, the Center School, and the middle school. This recommendation to renovate the schools not only solves the capacity issue, but it incorporates many of the programs requested by the administration. These programs were lost over time due to extensive growth in our classrooms. The recommendation assigns the following grades to the following schools. The Golden Brook would be grades P through 3. The Center School would house grades 4, 5, and 6. And the middle school would house grades 7 and 8. Currently, at these schools at Golden Brook, there's grades K1 and 2. Center School has half the grades 3, 4, and 5, but it's only half the 3rd grade. The other 3rd grade is up at the high school, and the middle school has grades 6, 7, and 8. High school also has some pre-K. The way we arrived at this recommendation, aside from many Mondays together and endless meetings, we first made some site visits to each of the schools while classes were actually in session, so that we could actually witness the overcrowding conditions for ourselves. We also had many discussions with the SAU staff members, and some of the feedback from the administration was that a P through 4 Golden Brook would not be a very good idea. We had 2 community events where we got feedback from the public. Feedback was basically that building a new Golden Brook would be too expensive. However, something needed to be done in all of the schools. Other feedback included, there was concern about keeping the 6th graders with the 4th and 5th grade class. This was preferred over sending the 6th graders to middle school with the 7th and 8th graders. Some of the residents of Heritage Hill also expressed concerns about traffic and property issues. From here, we created a spreadsheet so that we could start documenting everything. And it was a document that was used as a tool that continues to grow and be used today as we speak. This spreadsheet, again, becomes a vital document used by both the facility committee and the SAU. It's been used in debating wants versus needs, as well as to understand the true additional operating costs of each new program and classroom. The spreadsheet continues to be used today as we continue to review classroom sizes and fine-tune square foot and operational costs for the project. I don't know if you have some slides of what the current schools look like. We got some sketches and used them as best we could to basically sketch our proposed ideas.
Unfortunately, the sketches are not coming through.
They didn't come
on this
through?
TV.
Okay.
I'm not sure
Okay.
why.
Like I said, the biggest tool we've used so far is this spreadsheet that we've come up with. Do you have the spreadsheet on that?
Put up the spreadsheet.
Yeah, please. And this is going to be posted on the SAU website as well, correct?
Yes, we'll ask the administration if they can put that on the website.
Yep. Okay. There's a number of tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet. One's pretty much just an explanation of it. Second tab is basically where we got our projected headcount numbers from. One of the tabs shows current conditions at each school, and one of the tabs shows basically the spreadsheet itself, which is divided into 2 sections, top section, bottom section. The top section that actually has 5 sections within that section. Can you go to that school? That's his scrap.
Adam, is there any way you can get it up on the monitor?
What's that?
Yeah, for some reason, the document's not coming up on the monitor.
If,
It's not displaying the desktop.
gotcha. You can put it on a thumb drive and transfer to that computer.
Yeah, it'd probably be, it might be better to do that, so you guys can follow along the presentation. It's kind of, you're missing the presentation.
I have a thumb drive in my truck if you don't have one, Rich.
He's got one, I think he's got one.
Missing all the graphics, all the good stuff. Technical difficulties.
The image didn't come through.
Yeah, we didn't come through. Oh, it's right there. FC Pres.
So that's the presentation.
Now you gotta open that.
while we're waiting, a couple things. I think, first of all, this Saturday at 2:30 at the University of New Hampshire, the varsity football team will be playing in the state championship. So the Jaguars. And also, if you're hungry, I believe Capri Pizza is still having their PTA night for the next hour and 20 minutes. I think they're going till 9 p.m. So if dine-in only, but proceeds will go to help support the PTA.
I could kill a little time. I'd like to announce that Mr. Will Carpenter was victorious in his request to be Mr. Windham High School. He put on a wonderful performance of talent, which included solving the Rubik's Cube in about 30 seconds and some excellent lip syncing of the Pussycat Girls' Buttons, I think was the name of the song.
No, I had Wannabe.
Wannabe, whatever. So, nice job there. Jim was what? Runner-up? Third? Fourth? Third. So Jim did well as well. It was a great event. It was a funny event. One more thing too. I wish I had the link to it. In my never-ending quest to get Mr. Cassidy more pub, he is currently in the running to be a guest conductor for the Boston Pops. So I think if you're sitting at a computer and you can Google Boston Pops guest conductor or Mr. Cassidy guest conductor, I wish I had the link with me. I don't have it in front of me. There's an opportunity for people to vote, and obviously the more votes he gets, the more chance he has at having the opportunity to guest conduct the Boston Pops.
Support the band and go to high school and drive it forward.
You can go to the high school on Friday after school. What time is it? Starts right after school, right?
1:30.
That's right.
Starts a little bit before.
Yes.
$20 per.
1:30 to 5, go drive a Ford at Windham High School on Friday, and the high school band program gets $20 for everybody who shows up and test drives a Ford.
Up to $6,000.
Up to $6,000.
You have to be 18.
You have to be 18.
So
And they
16
will
and
have a Mustang.
17-year-old drivers not allowed.
My understanding is you have the Mustangs, the souped-up F-350s, they bring out the high-end stuff to try to
Just swing by. I mean, it's
Encourage
$20
people.
for every adult who shows up.
come take a 5-minute ride.
To fill out the sheet. Like, you don't have to drive the car.
You could probably just fill out the registration and be done.
Yeah.
They just want, you're probably gonna get a little spam, but who doesn't get spam at this point, right? For $20, you can unsubscribe.
Isn't Barron's giving a certificate to something, to somebody?
$25 gift card for the first 100 people.
At Barron's.
That's a huge gift.
Nice.
Okay,
Let's
sure.
start over.
You guys ready?
We got some floor plans, so.
Great.
We're just gonna start from scratch again, if you don't mind. It's
Yeah, we'll-
technical difficulties.
We'll make it to midnight, don't worry.
We'll go fast.
We're used to that.
You weren't here last week.
Yeah, okay, so these are all the committee members, there's 7 of us.
Rick Horrigan, Chairman, Carol Fade, Nancy LaFarity, Tom Murray, myself, Jerry, and Tony Maceos. So,
Again, this is our recommendation. Golden Brook would have grades P through 3, Center School would have grades 4, 5, and 6, and the middle school would have grades 7 and 8. And on the bottom, this is what is currently at those schools. Golden Brook has K1 and 2, Center School has half of 3rd grade, and then grades 4 and 5, and the middle school has 6, 7, and 8. The high school currently has a preschool and half the 3rd grade class.
what's important to note here is the overcrowdedness. As you can see, the high school is taking on 2 grades, preschool and half of the 3rd grade. And it's very important that whatever we select for an option, in this case here, option 6, that we would like to have the preschool back down to the Golden Brook School, and the 3rd grade, all of the 3rd grade, in the Golden Brook School as well. And a lot of people out there may take in consideration, well, everything is working fine. Everything is status quo. Kids are going to school, there's no issues. And that's due to the administration and the teachers, the fabulous work that they've been doing. And what I'd like to see is us moving forward and having something quickly as a group, collected, vetted, and proposed in March, so this way, this could stop, that we could have the kids back at where they need to be, and have the teachers working as a unit once again. So we've been chartered, as Jerry just explained, to fulfill and come up with a solution for the overcrowded problem. Not only did we present the overcrowded problem, but we actually went another step where we wanted to ensure that the school board had a tool to work with. And that tool is very in-depth, robust. It covers a lot of things, even the members, some members of the school board and some of the administration need to still get their hands around. It's that detailed. And we wanted to make sure that that detail was in this spreadsheet, and we took the time to vet that out for one sole reason. We want to make sure that the public, the taxpayer, is fully informed on where their tax dollars are going. So we offer this spreadsheet and the time we took from a facilities perspective and all the great people on this board to present it to the school board, so this way you will have this calculator and you could vet out the numbers any which way you can. It's like a what-if analysis spreadsheet.
And it also shows that everything's been accounted for.
Yes, and it will show that everything has been accounted for. And what we had here that we couldn't show earlier here is the proposed, in this case here, the existing conditions of Golden Brook School. These are the floor plans that were given to us in the existing conditions. And if I were to click on the next slide, this is the actual proposed first floor plan for Golden Brook. So we not only took the current plans, we actually worked on what it would look like once we proposed a solution from an option 6 perspective. We did the exact same thing with center school, existing and proposed. And we also did, actually, middle school is, in this case here, middle school would take care of currently 6, 7, and 8, but the proposed middle school in option 6 would just take care of 7 and 8. So there won't be any new major renovations to the middle school. So that's why you don't see it up
There'll be
here.
some, but it'll be minor.
There'll be some, but option 6 has been a favorite of ours moving forward for quite some time. We actually got a confirmation of option 6 when the public had a chance to come to our 2 open houses. And the majority of the public did like option 6. And surprisingly, the public did mention that although a brand-new school would be grand, it would, they all said it would be cost prohibitive, basically. And we were surprised at that response, but we're here to listen to all responses. We're here to listen to the administration's input, their requirements, their needs. And now we are tasked to take all this information, vet it out, put it in some sort of a format that we can present to you, the school board, so you have this information. Okay, let's see. What I'd like to do now is just go over this spreadsheet that we built.
On the wrong slide.
So you want me to start on the
Yeah, go ahead.
explanation? So basically, this spreadsheet is very color-coded. So we try to make this as easy as possible for not only the school board members, because this is going to be going out to the public too. The public's going to have access to this. So anyone and everyone can go in there and play around with the numbers and see what it takes to say, well, this is a bottom line, this is a particular number, well, how did you get at that number? And you're going to actually see that. So basically with this spreadsheet, has is it's basically broken up into 7 different tabs. And I'll go over each tab. Now, each tab on the bottom here of a spreadsheet, these worksheets are color-coded. So hence the color for each tab up here. And this is a table of contents, so I call it the table of the tab contents. And the first contents is the NESDEC, historical projected tables. And that's consisting of the school projections that were provided by the district, I believe. So we were going off those particular yearly student calculations and projections when it comes to each of the grades that we have to deal with, P through 8. And I'll go over those tabs in a minute. Current conditions, it identifies the current footprint. Option 6, we call it scrap. This is like having a scrap piece of paper along the side where you're doodling and you're calculating different things. Well, this is our scrap sheet here, where you can actually put in various numbers and you come up with different calculations. For example, if I have 200 kids in the first grade, well, how many classes will that be if I want 20 kids per grade? Okay, that's a simple example. There's a lot more. The formulas get a lot deeper in here, but for sake of time, we won't go over those. Option 6, summary. These are the options. This is the summary of what we did in the scrap, so you can have an overall view of what we just did from a scrap paper perspective, and here's a nice summary. Option 6. And it's in the 5th tab, the green tab, option 6, scrap operational costs. These are one of the biggest things as from a historical standpoint when we were listening to previous construction projects, if you will, dealing with the new school for the middle school a few years back, dealing with anything that has to do with any particular additions. People came to us, and myself included, I would stand up there and say, okay, these are the facility costs, these are the construction costs of that particular building. But if you construct, say for example, 3 or 4 new classes, well, are you going to take existing teachers and populate those classes, or do you have to add teachers to those classes? Some cases you do, some cases you don't. Well, if you have to add teachers to those classes, that falls into the operational costs associated with that particular class. And I wanted to know, and it's good to convey it to the public, that if we're going to build this, if we're going to make these additions and these improvements, what are going to be the operational costs after this is all done? So you have your construction costs and you have your operational costs. This is part of the calculator. There's a capital needs assessment section as well in this. I won't get into great detail on this. And then we have a final grand total option. Bare bones, go right to this, and this is exactly what you see from a bottom line costing perspective. Okay? So, to move forward here, the second tab here, people who are familiar with this is the projected enrollments, and you could pick any projected enrollments by grade. I won't go over this in detail because the school board and the school board meetings, we've gone through this many times. But from a facilities perspective, we needed to know what are your projections in the next year, in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Are we going to build enough capacity to house enough of the enrollment period? So I just put in arrows over here just to recognize here are some of the peak years, peak enrollments. Okay? So that's what this tab is. The current tab, which needs to be blown up. How do we do that? Blown up. Any way to blow this up, Adam?
Yeah, if you hit escape and then in the view menu, there should be.
To the left, right there, one more.
I apologize, it doesn't get as big, I wish it could get a little bit bigger so you could see this, but basically, we have a current school layout here. It just takes each of the schools, Golden Brook Center School, Middle School, and it breaks it out into grades K, 1 and 2 for Golden Brook, 3, 4, and 5 at Center School, and 6, 7, and 8 at Middle School. So we took the number of kindergarten school students that we currently have, the number of kindergarten classrooms, and the number of students per classroom. We did that for each of the grades and each of the schools. And you come up with the current numbers down here. Okay, I'm not going to get into this. Those people want to go online and take a detailed look at it, you're certainly welcome. So that's a current snapshot. This is our scrap paper. This is where the fun comes in. This is where we take our current, well, we have an overcrowdedness problem, well, what do? How do we vet out the numbers? And basically, do you want to talk about these sections?
Yeah.
I'm going to have Jerry talk on this.
This is basically how many kids per classroom, how many square feet per classroom, and it'll come up with your number here of kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders, whatnot. So you'll have a total of 770 students. You'll need 37 classrooms, which comes out to you'll need 37,000 square feet to house 770 kids. The beauty of this is these are based on 18 students, 20, 21, 22, and 1,000 square feet. If for some reason you want, when you get to the bottom and you start seeing the total dollar amount and you want to figure out, well, where can we save a nickel or improve or cut costs or whatnot, you can, one area you can do is you can go back here and you can say, well, instead of 18 kids, what if we made it 20 kids? And instead of 1,000 square feet, what if we made it 900? It'll recalculate all these numbers in here to what you actually need for square footage. So this first section right here is all about the students, how many students that will be enrolled that we took off the NASDAQ chart. This second section right here was basically what, I'll say what we felt the students should have at a school. A media center, a gym, an art room, a cafeteria, a nurse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. With each of those things comes how many square feet are you going to give for the gym or an art room or a music room. I apologize if you can't see. And that comes up to a total square footage for what we felt were the bare necessities that the students should have. We go down to the pink section. And again, in our opinion, what do these students need as far as the faculty? Well, obviously you need offices and cubicles, you need a principal's office, you need a guidance office, you need a medical for a nurse, you may need some storage space,
may need a teacher's lounge. I know we've always had those when I was going to school. But basically, what do the teachers need in order to do their job at that school? They need a room where they can go and prepare paperwork or meet and have meetings, a conference room perhaps. So in this section, we've come up with a total square footage for what the instructors would need to teach the students at that school. The next section is the inevitable, because you have to have a boiler room, a supply closet, stairwells, hallways, and that takes up square footage. So I call this the facility section, which you have to have it. The facility section would take up about 8,000 square feet. This section right here is, once we got to all those up above, we're like, well, I'm just a facility guy, so I don't know what you need to educate kids. I don't know what you need to have a world-class education. So we asked the administration, are there any programs you'd like to see? Are there any programs that were lost due to the capacity, the overcrowding issue? Are there any programs you'd like to see come back? And please tell us what they are. And we gave this we dedicated this section to those, what we call additional needs. And this was vetted out many times and still to be vetted out, because we still need to determine, is this really a necessity? Is this something that you definitely need? Or is this something that you want or you'd like to have if at the end of the day I can find 2,000 square feet of space that's technically unassigned? So, okay, fine, we'll throw that in there for you.
So what I'd like to do with that section.
This section took on a life of its own, and what we added to the right of it was, for example, if you need, like, let's say, a nurse's station, or whatever this room is for the reading specialist, this room here, whatever this room is called on line 82, may require that you go and hire a reading specialist. So in other words, these are now the operational costs that are going to be assigned with these additional classrooms and these additional programs. So this took off, like I said, this section took off a life of its own, because there's additional costs associated with that section. It's not just about how many square feet do we need, and is it going to be, something that we renovate or something that we create a second floor and call new construction for.
So the numbers that are currently on here are a work in progress. There's still a lot of work that has to be done to sit down and talk to the administration as far as getting the exact numbers.
And that's why this isn't 100% tonight.
That's why this is not 100% tonight. We're not giving you the bottom line here tonight. We're just showing you, here's a tool. This is how you're going to use this tool. And if you obviously have any questions, you come back to the Facilities Committee. We'll be glad to help you out. But as you can see here, there's no question where you could now do a side-by-side comparison between what we currently have versus what we need versus what the additional operating costs would be.
So once we get to the bottom, you come this way, look. Once we get to the bottom, right here, okay. This number right here, the 78,000 square feet, that's the total square footage from the top 5 sections. What the students need for classroom space, what the teachers need to teach, what the facilities and the additional programs. That all amounts to, you would need 78,000 square feet. Golden Brook right now currently has 49,502. So the additional space required is 28,585. So based on that number, the new construction would definitely be 28,585.
So basically what we're saying here is that these numbers are all whatever is happening up here, anything above this line.
Right.
And then you'll instantly find out what the costs are down here. So, and that's all, we don't even have to go any further than this, but this is the scrap paper. Have fun at it, and we'd love to see what we could do in addition to this. This is moving.
Just go up for 1 second, I just want to explain one thing. This number here, this renovations, we took a look at the entire Golden Brook, which was 49,502. We went back to those floor plans, the current and the proposed, and we determined that out of the 49,000, you'd still would have to renovate about 38,000 square feet of that school, along with, you need an additional 28,000 to house those numbers that are sections 1 through 5. This is where it gets fun with plug it in. Everything from plans and specs to site work to contractor fees to moving and storage and new property that might need to be purchased, et cetera, et cetera. So this was basically for Golden Brook, and on that scrap sheet, you have it for center school and you have it for the middle school.
So each one of these schools, I'll scroll back up.
So this is Golden Brook,
Golden Brook here.
and then over in section G maybe, there's
If you
Center
scroll to the
school.
right, this is center school, right here. And then this is middle school. We did this for all three schools. Okay.
This is basically just the summary sheet of that very large spreadsheet you saw on the scrap paper. It starts to now just condense it and summarize it. Again, for each school.
And this is the operational cost for scrap paper as well. These will be worked out, vetted out by the administration, and they'll come up with the personnel, the salaries of that personnel. Do we need to add one? Do we need to subtract one, given the situation, and what the ultimate cost may be? And then there's the final. And the final's going to give you a snapshot of what you just did in a very simplistic viewpoint. Okay? I want to go back. Do you have anything to add? What's next?
Well, basically at what's next. Again, we're going to continue working with the SAU to fine-tune those numbers, the wants and the needs, and come up with the additional operational costs. We continue to meet every Monday. We welcome the public to attend, call us or write us with any questions or concerns they may have. I also welcome the opportunity to review the spreadsheet in detail so anyone can understand the logic behind our thoughts. The next step is, what we're going to do is we're going out talking to qualified general contractors that specialize in design-build construction projects to pretty much see if we're in line with what they feel a budget construction number would be. And next, I think what we need is to create a marketing campaign, and we need to show the public the current conditions, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's one thing to see the spreadsheet, but it's another thing to actually go to Golden Brook and look at the classrooms and say, are you kidding me? We need the school committee to approve and support our recommendation and to help us in any way with any funds that we might need to push this along so that we can get plans and specs prepared in order to hire a qualified design-build contractor. And ultimately, we'd like to see this put on the ballot in March of 2015. So we need to know what we need to do and how to get there.
So, I'd just like to say that I want to thank the board for many months ago recommending that the public had input to assist in your next direction as far as what needs to happen for the improvement within our schools in this district. It's been a big learning experience for myself and for the members of the facility committee, learning what the administration and their needs are. And at the end of the day, this is all about the students. This is all about the kids. Period. The end. That's why we're all here. I personally need and would like to see this option and what we recommend and what ultimately what the board recommends, put something on the ballot by March. The reason being is I want to see that our students can't live in the conditions that they're living in right now. If anyone, and I challenge the public, go to the schools. Go 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, go to middle school. When that bell rings and you're on the second floor, you tell me what you see. I challenge you on that. If you like it, that's fine. If you don't, take a look at it. That's why I'm asking that we all work together to try to get this on the ballot. I don't want our kids to go through what they're going through anymore. I just don't. That's why I'm on this committee. And a lot of other people feel the same way. It's for the kids. It's not for me. It's not because of this side and that side. It's everything to do with those little kids that come in here. Period, the end. So if you look at this triangle here, here are the students. The kids are in the middle. This is us, the facilities committee, the taxpayer. This is the school board up on top. This is the education, the educators, the administrators. Those three components are key to getting this on the ballot. If one of these go away, it won't make this on the ballot. We're up against the time clock. We're up against the wall. We have a lot of work we need to do. I've seen miracles happen on this board, and I know the board could do certain things, and I know the administration can, and I know we can. As a group for our kids, if we try to really work together and get this on the ballot, it's all because of the kids, and that's it. So that's my plea to you. You know, hopefully we can get this on. Did anyone have any questions?
Thank you. So I'll open it up to the board. Just one thing I want to mention is, I'm sure we all feel the same way. First of all, just thank you to all members of the committee. You guys have been at this since May. You've been working very hard, as was mentioned, numerous Mondays, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes later in the evening, and I'm sure those late in the evening sometimes went later than people had anticipated. Before I open, the one thing I would like to say is, Mr. Amari, I love your passion and sort of your challenge to individuals. I would just add, please check in with the principal first before you show up at the school and make sure that it's okay. I would just throw that out there from a broad protocol sort of way. I hate to be the guy, I don't want to stamp on the passion though, because I think that's fantastic. And I think that you guys have, again, the amount of work that's gone into this is definitely evident. Open it up to the board now. I think definitely what we want to do is keep this at a 30,000-foot view, because the members of the committee, I think, want to make sure that we recognize that they're not quite there yet. They're ready to push that ball into the end zone, but I don't think they're there yet.
So, I'll echo the chairman's sentiments. Thank you all. I know how hard you've worked and all the different iterations of options and spreadsheets, and that spreadsheet alone is testament to how much work you put into it. So I certainly appreciate that and everybody on the committee. I'll agree with Mr. Amari, with the caveat of call the principal first. I think that the success of anything that we do is going to come out of, not the spreadsheet necessarily, the numbers, although that's a huge tool, but out of the knowledge that the people of the public will gain from looking into it themselves. I mean, we've got a committee made up of citizens, with some participation from the school board and the administration as well, but citizens who have seen this with their own eyes, see the need, and can now validate the things that have been said for years about space issues. It's very easy, I think, sometimes for people to kind of dismiss what we might say about it or what the administration might say about it as being something that, well, they're just looking to get, but we're really not. We're looking to give these students what they need, and it is going to take all 3 points of that triangle to get it done. So I encourage everybody to accept Mr. Amari's challenge with the chairman's caveat, so that they can again see it for themselves. And that ultimately is going to tell the tale of how we get something on the ballot and how successful that ballot item is through that evangelization. So I thank you all for doing that, and I ask you to please continue to evangelize the need so that more and more people put their eyes on this, so that it isn't just, a select group of people, that it's a collective from the community.
Thank you.
If I just may add a comment. It has been an incredible spirit of cooperation and learning, desire to learn. And when we talk about the complexity of that chart that the committee has presented the administration, it really took until last week to have that finalized. So our job now is to assist the committee with most of the information that they requested. And that went through several iterations. That's why since May, we have really worked to educate each other about this. I can't stress how important it is to vet these charts, and there's slightly different language that we're speaking from the educator standpoint. I would like to acknowledge the group that they have really listened to the administration in terms of what the input was in terms of the programs we had lost, the programs we feel good education should contain in Windham. I want to thank all of you for your willingness to at least consider and accept what our feedback was. That process is ongoing, and we've just met today yet again with administrators, with principals at the individual schools, at the Golden Brook, just to be clear that we understand the charts and that we can validate and vet the information so that we don't find ourselves having forgotten a piece that we then later need to reintroduce. So while the process seems tedious, I think there's a lot of good work done, and certainly a strong commitment from this group advising the board. So I think that was important to that's why it's not on the website yet, because I need to feel comfortable that what's out there, that we're not raising expectation or squashing expectations. I would like to be confident that the two pieces of input match, and that we can present this in a common voice once we get there.
Thank you. I actually did have a question. So the spreadsheet itself, I understand that it's still a little fluid, and that there is actually going to be opportunity for people to go in and kind of manipulate some of the numbers to see how certain things would get affected. But there are numbers in there right now. At least I saw with the Golden Brook, you spent most of the time on that and just kind of showed us the other two. So I'm assuming all three schools have some kind of a number attached to them, right? So in terms of the numbers that are sitting there today, is that a major guesstimate? Are we close in terms of what we think that type of renovation would cost?
The numbers are close.
Okay.
The numbers are close. But as the superintendent said, we do have some more work to do to fine tune those numbers, so we could ultimately get to the square foot, costs.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're so much farther than we were just a week ago. So it's something that you guys can take a look at. It's a good base.
Okay. And that's good, because, as I said, not just for us to look at, but, as the public wants to take a look at it, there are some that will look at the number and say, okay, that's the number, and are you held to it? And so I want to make sure that, okay, if we're close, that's good. And I want people to understand that, that there is still some fine tuning to be done, so we don't want to walk in on a particular number, because it could go up, it could go down, right?
Well, not only that, but if you looked at the spreadsheet, I know we went through it fast, but all the colored cells are where, that's a scrap piece of paper. That's where you could add, those numbers are where you could change those to wherever your heart's desired. And we have, just to look at different scenarios. The white section, that's all the formulas. So whatever you do in the colored section, you'll see it result in the white section. So the white section you don't touch, the colored section you do, have at it. So that's why those numbers are not solid yet.
Okay.
Rich, if I could use that.
Sure.
Yeah, Rob, I just wanted to help answer that question, because I think I understand what you were asking. So with the administration, like some of that green section towards the bottom, there's still some additional programs that we're going to want to vet out, whether they want them within their needs, and, there's probably some differences of opinions on those. And then but that's the fluidness of the spreadsheet, so you can add them, or you can take them out, and where we come together on that still has to happen. But for all the other sections, all those core spaces, facility spaces, your general classroom spaces, that's all in there. What we did is we picked some numbers as far as students per classroom. Those are interchangeable. I mean, if you take and just change the number by one, when I encourage you all to do it, it will show you, oh wow, I can get some additional classroom spaces just by adding one additional person to a grade. And so those are going to be kind of the give and takes that the facility committee and the administration are going to try to work out, so we can pretty much fit everything in there. But at the same time, we want to use those numbers as for growth, because there's some significant growth as you move up. What I don't want to see happen, I don't think any of the facility members want to see happen, is kids out in the hallway a year after we do this on desks and for that matter, losing their art or losing their, music classroom. So, we took all that into consideration, and then same with going with the numbers. So, Superintendent Fenneberg mentioned, we're cautious about throwing a number out there. To your point, we don't want people to scroll down like everybody does and look at the bottom line. We want people to pay attention to what's in the middle, the beginning, the middle, and not the end. Because the end can change because of this construction costs that we took arbitrary square foot numbers and we plugged them in there. We have to vet those out. We're going after 4 different design build contractors to see is what we've done as a whole in the facility committee, that has to be vetted out and on the street and within, the construction market to say, hey, can you do this job for X and square footage, and we can change those and we can, go ahead and everything's changed in the calculator. And we're already talking to Build Out Construction and Gilbane, and we're also going to be reaching out to Procon and Harvey as well. So that's ongoing in the facility committee too. So any of those numbers, we're going to validate those, before the school board makes that decision. So it's not just going to be, our guess at it. These are going to be, substantiated and confirmed in there. So I hope that.
Do you want to take a moment and explain to the public what square foot cost is and why we're actually using square foot cost?
Yeah, typically in the construction industry, I mean, that's usually how most things are priced. Everything's is quantified and priced per linear foot by square foot, square yard. So every single individual line item has a measurement, and then there's usually a unit cost per that measurement. So that's basically what we've done, is we've used that square foot cost. Originally, we were using ICC numbers, which were International Code Council quarterly prints up what they feel as though a certain type of construction, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, type 5, and what that is, office, educational, so on, such forth. For when contractors come to building permits, the building departments want to make sure that they're in line with those construction costs. So we originally were using those numbers, and then we've reached out to various contractors, and we're getting kind of like a pulse on where the market is, and and really at the end of the day, that's really all that's going to matter, is what those people are willing to do it for. So.
No, that's good. I mean, that answers my question. Kind of the reason that I asked the question is so that you would explain it that way, because it's a natural tendency for people to look at the number and get locked in on it.
Yeah.
And, looking at the spreadsheet and saying, well, these aren't really locked in, you can manipulate them, and then moving on and talking about other things. I was just afraid that, maybe people might forget that, we need to take a harder look. So I wanted to kind of shine a little bit more of a light on that part of it, so that people take the numbers kind of with a little bit of a grain of salt. I wouldn't say a full grain. But
yeah, I mean, the spreadsheet, like, for example, if I were a taxpayer and I wanted to, there's a full-day kindergarten, for example, that was one of the options. Is it a need, is it a want? And I might want to say, well, how much is it? Well, I can go right to the calculator and go, and it spits out a number. Okay, it was 7 million before. Now it's 8 million. Okay, so a new kindergarten is going to cost me an additional $1 million. Well, what's the operational component of that on an annual basis? And, to the other tab, it would say this is what an additional full-day kindergarten would cost. And look, and then you can make an informed decision on whether you want to vote that way. And that might be where some of the facility committee members, what we do is, if some people want it, some people don't. we just might have to come into terms and say, okay, we have the basics right here, we don't want to lose that, we know that that's what it is, let's put in a separate warrant article, full-day kindergarten right underneath it, and, kind of like those things à la carte, so we don't lose what we're set out to do. And then we just let the taxpayers vote on what they want to do on the things that, you might be in difference of opinions on. And I think that's just the way that the public probably wants to see it. So everything's quantified, everything's vetted, and, people can have all kinds of, informed decision, talking points within that. And, and eventually, once we meet with the superintendent and we finalize this, we'll go ahead and put what the suggested list is, and then if we want to tweak it from there, we can. It's a fluid, it's made to show different options to everybody. So, because everyone's going to have a different opinion on stuff, so.
Thank you. So one thing I do think, I see here that you guys have suggested that you'll submit your recommendation on the 2nd. The 2nd right now is a budget workshop meeting, with that being the only agenda item. But, that being said, I think given where you guys are, one thing that, and I've written to the chairman about this, just reminding him of his original charge, is that this board, for us to be able to move forward and make any decision, we can't just have a spreadsheet. We have to have, I think, a recommendation from you as a committee where you, as a group, commit to, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. You write that up, and that's then what you submit to this board on the 2nd. Then on the 16th, having had enough time to digest it, then I would recommend that we as a board then discuss our thoughts on the entire proposal, having had enough time to actually weigh everything that's there, still go into the spreadsheet, and then we as a board can deliberate on that and start talking about what we see as wants and needs. Because I think otherwise, having 11 individuals debating what's a want and what's a need can be really tricky. And in keeping with the charge from May 20th, I think that formal recommendation is something that's going to be very important for this board, so that we know what you guys have through all your work and all of your deliberation and all of your interactions with the administration, what you got to. So that's how I view this process, and I think that's a way to streamline it. I don't know that it's a miracle, using Mr. Amari's words, but I think it's a way to streamline it in such a way that we don't get bogged down, because I can see meeting after meeting, as could happen, all right, well, we're playing with the spreadsheet because we're trying to tweak things, and I think it's much better for us to get where you guys are, where the administration is, take 2 weeks, and then we come back together, hopefully have members of the facilities committee here as well if we have questions, and then we can deliberate on that and go forward. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it sounds good.
I have some other comments too, though.
I have some other comments as
me
well.
too.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Would it also be helpful if we were to take an extra day with the board and have a public workshop and go through this spreadsheet in detail with you guys prior to? So this way you will understand, and we could give you the definitions of what the administration is asking for each item. So this way you're well informed, and then that will help you out for the subsequent meeting.
Just on a personal basis, I feel like this was a very good overview, and I've actually played with it on my own as well, so I'm not too concerned about that, and plus I have your email, Mr. Murray's, of others, so I don't know that we would need, for the board, a public workshop. I think certainly if you guys wanted to hold one for the public at large, I think that would be very nice to do, but I don't want to put more work on you guys, especially as I just sort of said on behalf of the board, I reiterated that we're looking for a formal recommendation.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Sure, I have a couple comments to make, and I'll try to be quick, and I'll try to stay at 30,000 feet, but I have a lot of notes here. First, thank you very much. Can you email the board a copy of this presentation that you made tonight and the latest and greatest spreadsheet? Because tonight was the first time we saw that presentation. As far as the specific schools, At Golden Brook School, I'm very concerned that we don't have a full understanding of the required impacts to the site and the site improvements that will be needed. When I look at your floor plan for the additions to Golden Brook, it appears off to the left side behind the old pods, no, the rectangular ones to the left. Quads. It appears that addition extends over to the adjacent landowner's property. We only have about 30 feet of space there, and it looks like that addition goes onto the neighbor's property. I'm very concerned that we've underestimated the extent of the upgrades required to the central plant at Golden Brook School. That, to me, would include septic systems, electrical services, plumbing systems, fire protection systems that are going to be required to make that extensive upgrade to that building. Center School, again, very concerned that we've underestimated the impact to the site, concerned that it requires acquisition of adjacent properties, and concerned that the existing structure, we don't have confirmation that the existing structure would take a second floor. As with both of them, I'm very concerned of how you do the work at both of those facilities and keep them open and operational while we're doing that work. At the middle school, again, I'm concerned that we don't have a good understanding of what it's going to take to fix the site issues there. And I'm also concerned about the upgrades that even minor renovations to that building are going to require to the mechanical, electrical, and lack of fire protection systems. You mentioned that your numbers in the spreadsheet you felt are very close. The initial numbers that you used were coming from the International Code Council, from ICC. If you go to their website for where those numbers come from, important point, in most cases, these costs do not apply to additions, alterations, or repairs of existing buildings. Because the scope of alterations and repairs to existing buildings varies so greatly, the square foot construction cost tables do not reflect accurate values for that purpose. So I'm concerned that you carried an initial, in your spreadsheet here, $125,000, or $125 a square foot for additions and $35 for renovations. When you go to the ICC number for educational type 1B, it's at $162 a square foot. Another tool that I had was the RS means. When you put in elementary school in this part of the country and you plug in the same type of construction type, and you look at that at a 10,000, 25,000, 50,000, and 100,000 square foot project, at a 10,000 square foot project, it has the per square foot cost at $310 a square foot, 25,000, it has it at $205, and a 50,000 doesn't get you down to the 168, and even at 100,000, it has it at 151. I'd also like to see if you could work, instead of reaching out to other contractors, if we could reach out to other school districts. Salem just went through a major project of renovating all their existing elementary schools. Pelham is putting a major addition onto their high school. I'd like to see us use those as sources of potential budget and costs. Let's see what else I had here. The other one I had here, and the other one I had here was, I didn't see anything in your work for escalation. I have the school construction, annual school construction report, and basically what it's telling you is school construction costs are starting to go back up through the roof. And I think we need to account for escalation in when this project actually gets done, and of course, there's a good chance that it's going to need to be phased, given the nature of the types of projects we're trying to do in these buildings. We may not be touching some of these construction projects for 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, depending on how we have to phase them to get the work done. The other concern that I have is that your group is proposing moving forward, and actually seems to be moving forward with pursuing a design-build construction delivery method. Personally and professionally, for this type of project, I don't believe that design-build is appropriate in any way for this type of project. And if you'll indulge me, I'd like to just read from the New Hampshire Department of Education website on guidelines for construction contracts and delivery methods. If you go to a little bit down, it talks about the different delivery methods. I won't go through them all, but it talks in length for about a page to a page and a half on design-build delivery method. And I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I'll read you some certain sections from it. Design build works very well when using standard designs that have been built repeatedly. This is absolutely critical that it is absolutely critical that the owner and the builder have the same clear picture of the final project before construction begins. There are those who advocate for design build as a cutting-edge method and a method for which will result in significant cost savings. Again, according to the New Hampshire Department of Education, neither of those is correct. Design build has been around since construction of the pyramids. There are some slight savings in design costs, no impact on cost and labor, where the greatest costs are. Since the owner and the builder commit to a cost before the design is started, there's a certain amount of uncertainty. Gets to the end and it says, the New Hampshire Department of Education feels strongly that design build is not a good method for school projects. And then it lists the following reasons. Fast tracks eliminates the possibility for integrated design. When designers work for the builder rather than the owner, the checks and balances are lost. People in a hurry make mistakes. Saving time is the main advantage when cost and construction quality should be what you're concerned about. Changes are difficult to implement. Unforeseen circumstances are hard to handle. So I really am not comfortable with the committee moving forward and pursuing a design-build method of construction delivery. And actually, I would like to see the board take action on that tonight if we could. The other concern that I have is I made the motion to empower and create this committee, and nowhere in that discussion or nowhere in that charge was there any discussion of that group reaching out to contractors. Quite frankly, I think if you're reaching out to contractors on our behalf at this time, that's again something I would like to see the board take action and stop, because that wasn't what we asked you to do. And I really feel that that's a role and responsibility of the board, to be working with and not negotiating, but working with, reaching out to construction firms. So with all that being said, as quickly as I can, I actually have two motions I'd like to make when the board is ready.
All right, well, why don't we let some other people weigh in? We had some other comments.
Well, I'd like to say thank you. I know the amount of work that you've done. And at the beginning of the process, I had asked for just a couple of basic things. The ability to have it be quantifiable, that I'd be able to know how many students per teacher, how many classrooms per grade, how many classrooms per school. If we move one grade from one school to another, what'll be the student-teacher ratio in the other schools? If we build new, we add additional classroom spaces or educational spaces, will there be employees that need to be added? If that's the case, what are the operational costs? You guys have done a great job in putting together your program, the spreadsheet. It all calculates it out. The ability to say whether you want to have full-day kindergarten or not, I think that's great. I'd like to respectfully remind Mr. Jonas that two or three facilities meetings ago, Mr. Murray asked if he could go to seek some prices from design-build companies, and you actually granted him that permission and said, yes, go ahead and do it. You were skeptical, you didn't think that he was going to be able to get anybody to provide any kind of quotes or prices, especially on such a short deadline. I think we have another resident that was in the meeting at the time. I can see her nodding her head. And so, from my perspective, if you make a motion tonight to stop the process, and I think that it's important for them to continue with that process because they're getting prices, they're getting a different perspective. Their charge was to put together a proposal, and before they present that as a final proposal that they feel comfortable with, they want to make sure that their numbers are in the ballpark of what it's going to actually cost. And if you raise a motion tonight and say, nope, you can't do that, now we're going to invalidate potentially the work that they're doing, and we're putting them in an awkward position where, as the chairman just said, we want you to come back and make a formal proposal in 2 weeks, and yet we're going to cut them off from vetting the accuracy of that proposal. I think we're cutting legs out from underneath them. They've been working on this for months, many, many, many months. They're right at the end. I see no harm in letting them finish their process. We can, as a board, we can take their input, we can take the research that they've done, and we can accept it at face value, or we can challenge it and go out and get our own. But for us to tell them as citizens and residents of this town, as members of the committee, how to do their job, I think it's a disservice to all of the work that they've just done. So with all that said, I just want to reiterate my sincere thanks to everybody on the committee. I think you've done a great job. I think that although the numbers aren't final, I think that what you've got there in the spreadsheet is very encouraging, because it does address many, many, many of the needs, and it's I think I've heard more than one committee member say it's a reset. It's a major reset back about 6, 7, 8 years. All of the things, or a majority of things, come off the carts. Many new educational spaces become available to our educators, and even more important than that is the town will be able to look at this project in totality to see what the true costs are, not just from construction costs, but from operational costs as well, because if we're going to be hiring new employees, new personnel, it's important to calculate that in, because those costs will be in perpetuity, and they will carry forward, and it's important to look at the total commitment from a tax perspective, because we do have people in this town that are having trouble. So it's important that nobody get caught by surprise. We present the project, here's what it's going to cost, here's what you're going to get, and again, thank you.
First, I want to thank you guys. As a member of the committee myself, I have not put in the amount of time as you guys have. Meeting week after week, but I do appreciate it. I know it's a very difficult task because there's such diverse opinions about what should or shouldn't be done. When I say next, I don't think it's going to be surprising to anybody. Nobody's going to be blindsided by what I'm saying, because I've talked about it in other meetings with you guys. I like the presentation. I have some of the same concerns as far as inclusions on certain items for the actual overall package of pricing, et cetera, but I also expect that to be vetted out over time. And I know we're all into this push to try to get something for March, which would be great, but I also don't think it's realistic at this point, only because I think we have a lot more to do. Not a huge amount, but enough to do that. I think trying to get something on March might be a mistake, but maybe it can happen, I don't know. I look at the options we have, and I say I have concerns with them still, and I said this at the meetings. My issues with option 6 are still the fact that we're adding more kids to center school, when I think we should have tried to take it back now. I know Mr. Fenneberg and I think Ms. Bates, some of her concerns, and his concerns were, if we had the other option with the K through 4, P through 4, whatever you want to call it, it'd be a large school, which is still not a question. But then there were issues of not having the 5th graders with the 6th graders, the sports, but all those issues should be going away, because that's in your same proposal here, because you're proposing 4, 5, and 6 at center school. So it only leaves the one last issue, which was having a larger elementary school. And I think I would like to see a little more vetting, if possible, on that. And I say that because I think we could, other than just looking at Pelham, I know Tingsboro has a very large elementary school. It would be nice to take a look at 5 or 6 of them, because when I look at Golden Brook site, and I agree with Mike, there's definitely some site issues that need to be worked out. Actually, at either construction site, either center school or there, because we're talking about acquisitions of land and stuff that may happen, may not happen, you never know. But Golden Brook is one of the few sites that you can actually do almost an entire addition, without even so much as touching the school, and to Mike's point about doing construction while the kids are still in school. We need to be able to keep them there, because we don't have a place to put them. So I would ask that we kind of take one more peek at that if possible, only because in the end, I think it will make the most sense. Dollar-wise, it might be the same, I don't know, because you have to add more core space, you have to have the gym, the cafeteria, et cetera, to deal with that. But it's the only flat piece of land, it's the only land that we have that's not sitting on 111, And if you add more students to that, I look at like center school, if you add more students to center school, yeah, even if we could get the property next to it and we could extend the driveway down, you're still adding a lot of students to that. I don't know the structural issues, whether they are there or not. I know that has to be vetted, so I'm not going to question at this moment in time, because I still see more vetting to be done on that. So those are kind of my concerns. I would like to see that kind of looked at. The only option that was left, the only issue really remaining with the K through 4 was the size of it. But I think it was always the intention to make sure if that did happen, that they would have the appropriate staff, not just a, one principal and one vice principal, a half a nurse or something. If you did something like that, you'd have to have the appropriate staff. But when you look at it, if you have just one construction project in one school, I think A, it will be easier for the residents to maybe get behind, especially if you commit to them that you'll have the proper staff there. I like what you've done here, I like the charts, I like seeing going through the numbers. Obviously, some questions come up tonight about, what codes or numbers you're using, and I don't want to get into that conversation now. I think that can be vetted out very, very easy. But from my perspective, I'd like to see that extra option put back in and just kind of vet it out. I don't think we need to rush. I know we want to get something on, but I don't think we need to rush for that at this moment in time, because we're already into budgets. The money that's going to be needed for whether we do some plans or engineering, we can't even do that right now until we finish this process, because we don't know exactly what we're going to need. And is it a design build? Is it one of the other various methods that we have? We don't know yet. So those are a couple things I would like to see. I understand why you took it out. I mean, unfortunately, it was one of the meetings I missed, which kills me, because I would have fought for it. So for now, that's really all I have. And I understand, we listened to the administration's opinion on quite a few things, but when you go back and look at that particular option, a lot of the reasons guys took it out was dealing with the 6th graders and the 5th graders together, the sports, et cetera. But you're going to have the same issues on what you're proposing now, so all those issues should, if administration let you get this far, should be brushed aside. The only thing that's left is the size and some site issues, which I think you have on both sites anyways. And I'm not saying this, I know this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, because I've said this to you guys before, so I know I'm not blindsiding with you this stuff right now. Just my opinion.
I happen to agree with taking a second look at it, but the reason why the committee would like to also take the second look at it, but the reason why the committee is not moving forward with it, wasn't part of the options, was because we listened to the administration. Our task is to listen to what the school board has to give us for input, as well as the administration. And that day that you weren't there, we listened to the administration loud and clear, and that's the only reason why we didn't move forward with that. If there should be another look-see, if they want to reevaluate, fine, we're open to that. But that's the reason why, that's the only reason why we're not taking that consideration at this time.
If I may, I hope you just understand that when I say taking a look at it, it's because a lot of the issues that they brought up are same issues you would have in this particular proposal now, so like I said, those kind of get brushed off, and then there's still the size issue, that doesn't change. I know it's a large school, and I know Mr. O'Connor would love to have such a large school. Maybe we can have an assistant.
Glenn back.
You can bring him back as
another assistant.
But those are the points, and I don't know if at the time when we were making that decision or that was being made, that they understood that, I know, at least from my perspective, I knew that was going to have to be included in that. And I think if you're taking a look at it and we start getting down to operational cost, those type of things have to be added, because you have to have the proper administration, core, teachers behind them, even everything down to nurses, janitors, et cetera. I understand there's an added cost to have such a larger school, but I also know that by doing that, you're now 5, 6 at center school, and you're 7 and 8 at middle school, and it's one project instead of multiple projects.
We need that space, so.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. That's why it's attractive to us.
I'm done.
Yeah, I don't want to throw a curveball at you either, but quite honestly, I believe it would behoove the committee to just take a look at that too, because there might be issues with going up on center school. There's a short window of time, you have to put the kids somewhere. We don't have extra space. It really does warrant taking a look at that, because if it is one site, you know, I'm thinking in my mind as Mr. Jonas and Mr. Sinaboldi are talking, we built 7 very large classrooms for $2.5 million. You know, will we be talking about another 10 or 12 classrooms? So, you know, we're not talking about, you know, 10, 15, 20 million more. If we acquired the land next to Golden Brook, and in fact, Mr. Masejos had said he'd give us the land behind the building. I don't know, you know, if we're going to acquire the whole thing, because you still have traffic flow problems, but I hesitantly ask that you do that. I know how much work you've done, and you're very close to the end, but just to vet that out one more time, I think would make sense, because it does take, it takes all the construction issues, and it does put it in one project. I have to agree with him.
Just my last thing, and I know Mr. Wright had a comment, and I appreciate him letting me go. But taking a second look at it too, I would like to look at if we do a little bit of research, I know Tingsboro definitely has a very large elementary school. There's got to be 3 or 4 others in the area that we can look at, how they operate, how they deal with such a large school, how big are their facilities really, you know, being there in the middle of a bell ring, and do they change classes? I'm assuming they really don't as elementary kids, but, you know, how much do they have for gym space, how much do they have for calf space, et cetera?
Mr. Brown.
Sure. So in case I missed it, I just wanted to throw out there, in terms of Center School, for example, what, if anything, can we glean from the presentation, at least today, in terms of the traffic flow, and how, has there been anything that's been kind of accounted for helping with that? And could you maybe illuminate me and anyone else who's thinking the same thing?
So, Rob, one of the things that we looked at, Rich, can you bring up the proposed Golden Brook floor plan? I'm sorry, Center School, forgive me. I'm saying Golden Brook, I mean Center School. Current, yeah, current.
That's the existing.
So, we don't have site plans on this, but just to give you an idea, we all know where the current entrance is for the Center School. We know the problem. The problem is, you know, at pickup time, that backs up to that traffic light and creates, you know, quite a nuisance. And when the buses are all queued up into the front and all the cars are going around the back. So one of the options that we were looking at with Center School is acquiring the property next door. In doing so, we would go ahead and close off this entrance right here. And that wouldn't be the entrance. The entrance would go basically where the exit is. Because when you go back out to it's a little peninsula that comes together, that gives you the best line of sight for safety reasons. You can look to your left all the way to the intersection, have 1,000 feet. You can look to your right and have another 1,000 feet to the right. What we planned on doing with that property was going ahead and building another parking lot in that area. And we would bring and extend the loop around the building all the way in front of the media center, connected to the entrance and exit. So basically there'll be double lanes coming up, so the school buses could still queue up the same way. And we put allowances in there, and I've actually spoken to several site contractors as I've walked the property and stuff like that. So I've gotten basically ideas, and I can see the grades, and I can see the blasting and the hammering that needs to be required in front of the media center to go ahead and connect those and get the grades that are necessary, and the drainage requirements, and the parking lot, and the site improvements, and the lighting. And we've taken into consideration those when we put those allowances in. So, and again, I just want to stress, they're allowances. They're allowed amounts that, you know, we feel as though, you know, we've actually been, you know, rather conservative on. But again, you know, to Mike's concerns, that's all going to be vetted out. It's all going to be answered, you know, by not us as the committee, by other construction professionals. That, and we've reached out to companies like Gilbane, Procon, Harvey, that have a history of building educational facilities. So we're very comfortable in going ahead and pursuing that. And
Can I just make a comment on the P3 floor, if you're all?
yeah, I'm all set. Nancy, go ahead, please.
On the P3 floor, we will relook at the option, but another reason that we moved forward with option 6 was P3-4 educationally, you can do it. There are models out there in New Hampshire, there are models in Massachusetts, we have found other schools, spoken to other people, got layouts of their schools. The difference is when you're building a brand new school, you can design to have houses and separate children and make a small school within a larger school. When you're building off of something existing, like we are, it's a little more, it could be a little more difficult to create that small school feel within the large school. So we thought, for another reason why we moved forward with option 6 was that it's a little more difficult to get the feeling that you want, maybe not impossible, but in building at the existing Golden Brook with the existing school.
If I could, just to add to that, for the public to understand what one grade level means, P3 versus P4, in Windham, we have about 11 to 12 classrooms per grade level. So just the mere size of getting just classroom space, 12 more at that site to make it from 3 to 4 is significant. And then what the committee, over these months is beginning to realize too, it's not just classrooms. There's about 50 to 60% of other instructional core area that needs to be also provided for. Now, some of that we have. We may not need another art room if you have P through 3 or P through 4. That may already been accounted for and you could tie it in. But those are all questions. Those additional instructional spaces that make a well-rounded education, art, special education, enrichment, music, counseling, administrative offices, conference rooms, all these little details that are represented on these various spreadsheets. That's where the detail comes in, and that's where it's more than just a classroom. And that's, I think, if anything, I want the public to understand, it's not just a teacher with 20 kids. There's many more different details that make education and that need room to be accounted for. I think that's the repeated experience in our discussions. And that is, the devil lies in the detail here. And that's why this is an ongoing process.
Yeah, just quickly on the site work, I appreciate the hard work and the expertise of the members on the facility committee. I appreciate the fact that you've reached out to other potential contractors that could look at the site. For me, to be comfortable with moving forward with work on either the center school site or the middle school and Golden Brook site, I need a civil engineering firm with environmental engineers, site engineers, traffic engineers. I need somebody to show me how we're going to fix the site issues at those sites. And use that information to get better than an allowance. I did an allowance once. This town did an allowance for site work once. I'm not doing it again. It was a complete disaster. The other concern I have with the committee reaching out to contractors is that in order to get quality information back from contractors that we can use, we need to be able to give them quality information to make those cost determinations. I don't believe that we, at this point, have enough scope of work defined to be at that point in the process. You can ask for square foot numbers, you can ask for generalities. My concern is that we are not at a level where we have the appropriate information to be getting costing information back from contractors. So that's that.
Just to go back to some of the comments from the superintendent, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that it was just 12 classrooms. I actually think it's much more than that. My suggestions back to that larger school at Golden Brook was purely from the amount of space we have to actually build even almost a freestanding structure outside of disturbance of the kids, and then through a summer process, connect the facilities together at that point. But I definitely, and I said it when I was speaking, that I know we need some, cast space, gym space, et cetera, office space, much more than was just a couple of classrooms. But once again, that space is very conducive, especially on the side where we just got rid of 10 classrooms, to be able to do even a 2-story structure. Law allows, I believe it's third graders up on the second floor. And to Mrs. Lafferty's point, yeah, you're right. And that actually could be worked in such a way where when they do that work, they could possibly design the left side for the kindergarten people or the preschool kids, or even first grade on one side. So they can change the school around some, because you have the middle where the offices are, and you can do certain grades on the left. The additions can house the, say, third and fourth. Second can be, there's just definitely different configurations that could do to it. But once again, like I said, going back to what you were saying, I know there's definitely core space that's required to go with it, not just classrooms. So.
Just say a couple things real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Mike, again, those things that you pointed out, in my opinion, they're debatable, but thank you for pointing them out because you're taking into consideration the prices that you came up with, cost per square foot, that can easily be taken into that spreadsheet, and we can come up with a range, a low range and a high range. My other question is, what's wrong with getting just a budget number so that when someone says, yeah, those are great ideas, how much do you think it will cost? And it's strictly just a budget number. We're working off of 11 by 17 sketches. If you're saying that there's no money to be had for plans and specs or to hire an architect to go out and get accurate numbers that you'd feel comfortable with, then where are we? Where are we right now? Where are we tonight? Are we done? Is this over? I mean, what do you plan on doing to help us?
What I would like to do to help you is I would like to have the board take the action tonight that we're not going to pursue a design, build, construction, delivery method. The next action after that would be to instruct the administration to figure out what, if any available funds would be available to start a design process based on your recommendation in December that would pursue engaging an architect, an engineering firm, and a construction manager to further vet out this process.
And where's the money for that come from? Whose budget is that coming from?
It comes from all, it's my money, your money, everybody's money. We have a significant amount of realized savings.
So we're going to start spending money before the town has even a chance to vote on it? I guess I'm a little confused.
That's a double-edged sword.
Right.
I'll give you an example. When we built the high school, we didn't spend any money to design the building before you voted to give us the money. We had an architect and an engineer put together a budgetary cost estimate based on their expertise, and that's the number you voted on. And we all know what happened there. So I am not comfortable with going to the voters until we take the time and energy to do the necessary due diligence up front to get harder numbers, a guaranteed maximum price from a construction manager, or a hard bid from a general contractor. Not comfortable with the design build. That does require spending money. Maybe the ultimate thing is to put an item on the warrant this year for just simply architectural and engineering fees.
Mike, I just had a couple of comments.
Actually, I was going to say something.
Oh, certainly.
So, one thing I think that we have to keep in mind through all of this is the fact that this is a process. And I think what hopefully the committee's hearing from the board is we're not in a position where we feel comfortable rushing. I think I've heard that from several of the members, meaning that we have to feel comfortable. And to that end, I think that the worst possible scenario is after all the work that you as a committee have done, is for us to rush where we don't feel comfortable and then to go out to the public and have everything fail. And have it fail because we have not accounted for different factors, have it fail because you don't have a board who can even feel comfortable standing behind it. You showed it yourself with the pyramid. All of us have to be on board. Not being in construction, not being an expert, when I hear I have got the numbers that you have in the spreadsheet, then I have numbers that I see in print from means that I know that, or us means that I know Mr. Murray himself has touted as being a good source, from ICC that I know Mr. Murray himself has touted as being a good source, I get really worried that we are lowballing things when I see $125 a square foot in the spreadsheet and I'm hearing $160 and up. And that worries me, because what does that do? At the end of the day, that says to the taxpayer, now we're in the same position where we were several years ago, where we've got different forms of information floating because everybody's not on the same page. So So my concern is that we try to rush through this, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want all the hard work that you guys did as a committee, and I mean this honestly, because just like you said, Mr. Meyer, this is about the kids. And so if at the end of the day, because we're trying to get this through and punch it through, now we lose a whole nother year or 2 years, and we've got a no means no to deal with. I think that's the worst case scenario, as opposed to moving forward in a way where we feel comfortable. And I think several members of the board have voiced, again, their appreciation, but also sort of what their concerns are on different levels. And I would hope that you guys as a committee would take that. And the December 2nd day is something that you guys put forward. That's not our hard deadline. And so I want that to be, because again, that's really our budget day. That would be something that, the way I see that is you submit to us the proposal, maybe do a 10-minute, 30,000 foot. We take it and don't discuss it for 2 weeks, because now we've got the information and we need to vet it and we need to think about it. So that's all I would do, is just caution you guys. And I think sometimes that happens with passion, that you're so close. Let's just make sure that we get, like you said, your own, that pyramid. Let's get all parts of that pyramid nice and solid. Mr. Murray?
Let's go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. I want to throw in an apology, because I wasn't prepared to have this conversation, because the spreadsheet and literally the data that's on that spreadsheet is not ready for official presentation to the board. We're not standing here and saying, here's a recommendation, this is why we're going to do this, this, and this. We want to go through line item by line item when we're ready to do that. Like you said, you want to have an official presentation. We're not even close to that yet. You did see a number up there, and again, my apologies. I didn't want that number to be the number to be associated with what Mr. Jonas had mentioned. He could be right, absolutely right, but at the end of the day, it's those people who we're going to work, or hopefully continue to work with, spend our time, work with these construction companies, get in those figures, and say, are we way off? Is that 125 figure way low and it's 175 or 200? We have no idea until the market's going to tell us what those figures are. Not what's on that spreadsheet, especially what's on that spreadsheet today. Because I don't have anything quantifiable to prove to you, this is what 5 people said to us, 5 bidders. We're not there. So I apologize, because I wasn't prepared to have this conversation. I apologize for that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Mark, please.
We want to let Mr. Murray go.
And Mike, I want you to feel comfortable. Going out to design build contractors, we pick some of the best in the business. I want that comfort level with the board. Some of the information that we've gotten from Adam, with the specifications and the drill logs, we have that information. We have traffic studies available. We have the septic loading information. Those are the things, that's the information that we have as a facility board. So we're able to take this information, disseminate it, and give it to qualified contractors in the proper format that they're able to put numbers on. And at the same time, I just want to add that it's at no cost to the taxpayers. We as a volunteer facility group are doing this all on our own. So we've spent the time, we've done the CAD files, we've done the drawings, we're in the process of putting the specifications together. We have a lot of all the drill logs and all the drilling information that's already been done, that the town has paid for, that we're utilizing to go ahead and move forward with these qualified contractors. And at the end of the day, you don't feel comfortable with the delivery, that's fine. All you have is you just have a design, build, construction cost from 4 contractors. And then at that point, when it comes to March and it's a different, cycle where you have money in a budget and you feel like, I want to go out hard bid and I want to go ahead and design that, well, you guys at the school board, go right ahead. And what does it hurt for us to continue down the process and just get the pricing? You can compare it to a hard bid later on. You have 4 qualified contractors that have given you design build numbers with the information that we've provided them. And feel free after March to go ahead and put it out to hard bid.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I know we're going to wrap this up. Yeah, and I appreciate you guys. One question and one comment. I'll give the comment first. First of all, Mr. Murray, there ain't nothing you should be apologizing for, because I know you guys are working your butt off. I know it's a very diverse opinion from everything from construction methods to new school versus additions, et cetera, the group that is comprised of. You know, I'm amazed at how far we started from and how close we get, so please don't ever apologize, because you're working on behalf of us, doing everything you can. Highly appreciate it. Thank you. And then, one last question, just, and if you don't have the answer to this, is fine. I know I missed some meetings and stuff, et cetera. Through any of our meetings, at any point, did even just so much as talking about, say, 4th, 5th, up at the high school ever come up? I know that was something that administration brought up at one point. I don't know if I missed it. Was it any meetings at all?
I'm not recalling. We did not.
I believe if we moved anybody else up to the high school, there was a question.
Well, we talked about, yeah, with additions. I just know at one point they had brought it up, and I just didn't know if those type of conversations go on. I just missed it or whatever.
We talked a while ago about potentially moving 3rd and 4th of the high school and putting additions on the high school to deal with space needs temporarily. It was 3rd and 4th.
I was just asking, and I understand, I don't want to get into that conversation. I know I missed a few, I wasn't sure. I know it was a possible option. I know it got kind of cut quickly when it was first brought up, but the board has changed again, so just putting that out there, but I don't want to have a discussion about that.
And Dennis, to your point, I think, I don't want to speak for the entire facility board, but I think we can go ahead and look, I think it was option 2, which was the one with the P through 4, and, the beauty of this tool is it can be applied to any school. I think from a delivery of education, as long as we have the spaces that are in there and they're accounted for, we could easily vet that out.
I thank you guys, and I definitely look forward to getting together again, talking some more. I definitely would like to be a part of a team if you go to another school if I can. Preferably get to do it on a Monday or Tuesday, because that's when I'm not doing my other job, but I appreciate what you guys had to say tonight and look forward to having more conversations. Mr. Henry?
Okay, 30 seconds. Mr. Murray, a few weeks ago, you had told me you lowered that $150 square foot number to $125 because the other money was down in the lower section.
That's
in the
correct.
fees. So it's really not $125 per square foot. if
No,
I
it's
understand it.
166 is what it's coming
Is that
out
what it
to.
was? It was 166.
Correct.
So it's
Which is right in line with the numbers.
Well, that's
that
my
Mr. Jonas
concern,
was-
because it's
The
very
money really
deceiving.
is built in.
It is. It's just how we're allocating it. So if you're looking at that 125, you got to look at the subset numbers underneath it for general conditions, construction management fees, so on and such forth. But when you get to the bottom line, Rich, if you could just...
No, actually, no, thank you. Because here's why.
166, yeah, it's not a real number yet.
Right, it's exactly, that's all I was going to say is,
Yep,
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you, guys.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
I think, I'd like to actually make a motion. I really think this is important, that we get this out of the way. I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion that based on the recommendation of the New Hampshire Department of Education, the school board does not pursue the design-build delivery method or design-build proposals for any of the future, any of the construction projects that we're currently talking about. And I apologize, I just really think we're going in a place that's going to be, it's going to waste their time if they come back with design-build proposals that is against the recommendation of the state of New Hampshire for delivering construction.
Actually, no, right now, the board is deliberating right now, we've got a motion. Ms. Figueroa, did you get all that? All right.
You typed awfully fast.
I was gonna say, that was good.
Fingers are on fire over here.
Sorry, so there's a motion, is there a second? Okay, so are we good?
Did you have 2, you said?
That's right, yeah, you said you had 2.
Well, if I'm not going to get anywhere with the first one, I'm probably wasting my time with, actually, I put the 2 of them together in one motion.
Okay.
So it died.
And I'll tell you, I didn't second it, Mike, only because I wanted to see the process go forward. I agree with you in the end, we're going to have to probably pick a direction, but I think until we get a little further down, I don't think it's that time just yet, so that's why I held off.
And here's my concern. This group of hardworking individuals is pursuing a potential construction delivery method that I don't think the board should even consider, and they're also getting design-build proposals to use as part of their costing analysis, again, which I don't believe this board, based on the recommendation of the state of New Hampshire, should be considering. I would have liked to have just taken it off the table at this point, because I don't want them to waste their time going someplace that at the end of the day, we're not comfortable with.
Right, and you know what, I actually would have seconded it, because I agree, if we go back to the presentation that Gino Baroni made, we're talking about the different delivery methods and other factors. So I think the committee's here, I think they hear several members saying that at the end of the day, it is the school board that determines the delivery method, and that we might have concerns with the design build. But I think based on the way the motion went, it's their prerogative as how they move forward.
And I know, and I'm not trying to be belligerent about it. I know you guys may not believe this, but I'm trying to be helpful to them so that they're not wasting their time going someplace that we're never going to end up.
Right. All right, so based on that.
Dr. Ricard, could I just say, as part of the facilities committee, that it's somewhat making it appear sound that we're sort of going rogue or doing something we're not supposed to be doing. We did notify the school board at the November 4th school board meeting that this was what we were going to go forward with, and it did.
I didn't think
It was
that.
agreement. The answer was okay. It was, we did notify you on November 4th. So I just want to make sure that the public knows that we're not doing anything that we hadn't notified the school board, because we did.
Okay.
I didn't feel that way, just so you know. I thought you guys were doing what you're supposed to be doing, but.
Mr. Chairman? All right.
Can I ask you a question before we go to the next thing?
Would you like to take a recess?
No. I noticed somebody, and I don't know if this already happened, I noticed somebody sitting next to Mr. O'Connor.
We already did it.
You already did it. All right, so I wasn't at
Do you want to take a quick
5-minute recess? Absolutely.
All right, let's do that. We'll be back no earlier than 21 after. I was going to ask. All right, welcome back. We are now going to do our overview of the budget. I'd like to just provide a little bit of context here before Mr. Steele gets going. And that is to say, this really is a 30,000, if not higher view tonight. That's why we're talking about it as an overview. But just so people are aware, we are having on the 2nd of December a workshop, budget workshop, which is to discuss specifically the preschool, Golden Brook, and center school budgets. Then the following week on the 9th, it's a busy December, we've got another workshop to review the middle school and high school budget. Anybody who's been through the 560-odd pages know it's the back half that is almost entirely the high school, just in terms of the different codes. So at those, we'll have the opportunity for public comment. In addition, we will also discuss and hopefully move forward and approve what we consider, well, we will have to, the proposed and default budgets on the 16th of December, and then as well the budget hearing is on the 16th of January, although I have a question of that. So there are multiple opportunities to weigh in on the budget. Tonight is really just this broad overview, but I just wanted to make sure people knew. We were going to be discussing this for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and that's not even counting deliberative. So with that being said.
By means of introduction, and thanks to Mr. Steele, whoever has seen this budget overview will be very impressed, as I am, by the thoroughness, by the presentation. It's just very professionally done, and there's probably not a lot of districts that do it with this level of thoroughness and detail, and I wanted to publicly thank Mr. Steele for that, because it's almost a work of good writing and literacy. So thank you very much, and without more ado,
Before you start, I have your email with the actual 2016 budget. Do we have what you're about to do now, or is this something separate?
No, because I sat there during the facilities thing and put this together to help my presentation, so I can forward this to you
No,
afterwards.
we're good to go. I thought I was just trying to keep pace with you. Thank you, sir.
So do you want us, I'm sorry, do you want us following along in the hard copy in our packets, or should we be using one of the electronic?
I'm going to walk you through this, and it has all the same information from the packet in there for you. So, by way of kicking this off, I will also say that the community, if anyone has questions about the budget, they can email me at any time. I will compile a list of all the questions I receive via email and publish those on my website as well, so that if someone from the community has a question that they need to answer, we'll provide a method for you to see what the questions, not only the answer that you get, but also the questions of other people and the answers that they get as well. So we want folks to be comfortable with this budget process. As an overview, the budget is up 2.06%. The important numbers are to look at the difference between the default budget and the proposed budget, because that's really the two numbers that the voters get to choose between in March, between what's proposed and the default budget. The default budget is an increase of only 0.015%. When you add in the CNA warrant article that's been discussed, the $675,000 warrant article, that's part of the CIP plan, total increase, including all of those, is 3.57%. What that boils down to is a likely tax rate increase of about a quarter for an average house. There's some things that affect that, and we can't predict the future in terms of valuation in town, those sort of things, or what the legislature might do with adequacy money. But right now, given the estimate we got 2 days ago, we look to have a very positive impact on the tax rate. Our staff and our administrators at the building level and our directors have done an extensive plan to look at staffing over the next 5 years, because we originally were submitted to us over 37 positions that were requested for this budget. Clearly, we cannot support adding 37 positions to this district's budget. And so the question for us was, is this because we're lagging behind in terms of we have a significant deficiency, or is this an every year sort of thing that we need to help our principals understand that their requests need to be more reasonable? What we found is that it really is the former, and that there is a number of positions that are needed and need to be phased in over the next 5 years to deal with our enrollment increases and our enrollment shifts within our district. And so we have a 5-year plan for staffing that we think will address those needs moving forward. As you can see from our enrollment projections, which are included in the packet, this tells some of the story. You can see our enrollment numbers increasing over the next 5 years. But what this chart doesn't show is that the enrollment is increasing at different schools in different ways. The dark blue line on this graph here represents the high school, and you can see today over on the left, over to fiscal year '22, there's a significant increase of about almost 25% of the student population at the high school. And those are kids that we already have in our district that we know about that are coming down the pipeline. It's not based on future projections or birth rates or any of those sort of things. This is based on the kids we know we already have in our district, and we know that affects the high school significantly over the next couple of years. Our budget compared to enrollment, this is an important metric to kind of compare. Has our budget kept pace with our enrollment increases over the years? And you can see that it does, in that our budget being the lower line, our enrollment being the higher line. Our budget hasn't increased over time and kept pace with that. You'll notice that this graph is arced upwards, but really it's because we started at 37 million at the bottom. And so if this was starting at 0 million, you wouldn't be able to see the detail as well, but it'd be almost a flat line. As you'd expect, salaries and benefits make up the bulk of our budget, as you'd expect, with operations, including things like transportation behind that. So while most of our conversations are about the stuff part of our budget, the things that we purchase, a majority of our budget is tied up in salaries and benefits. So how do we get from where we are today with our current budget to the default budget? This is a reconciliation that shows you exactly where the cost savings and the increases are to calculate the default number. Right off the bat, the thing that is a huge benefit to us is we have a negative budget for health insurance. That comes from two places. First, we're going to get another $450,000 back from Health Trust next year in the form of prior year premium rebates. That's right in the budget and is used to offset the tax rate. So it's built right into the formula, can't be used for other things. And also, because our GMRs this year were higher than what our actual rates were, we get to realize that savings next year, and we see what our GMRs for next year, about 2%. So it's, all in all, we see savings in our default budget there. Debt, we see savings in the Windham High School bond payment, and then capital projects, the Golden Brook Modular Building that's no longer needed. That payment was budgeted this year. It's not obviously needed anymore, so that's a savings realized in the budget. We will see significant cost savings next year with the Windham High School bond, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, of almost $1 million. So that's coming down the pike next year. And then some other miscellaneous things in the middle. And then at the high end, you'll see instructional assistant salaries and teacher salaries. Both of those things are related to collective bargaining agreements that were passed by voters this past year. Those raises for teachers that we know about are included right in the budget there. You'll note that along with that, salaries don't tell the whole story. Also included in that number that was on the budget was the FICA insurance and the New Hampshire retirement insurance paid by the district for those people. So that gives kind of the whole story of how we go from point A to point B in terms of the default budget. So the default budget, the zero's on the second line, but $44,871,060 is the default budget. Yeah.
So now relative to what we had in last year's budget, is the savings that we saw with the shift to the different prescription plan in terms of the teachers, isn't that also part of that $752,000?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
It all ties together. Yeah.
So again, that's also due then to the vote in March as well.
Correct.
That negative line is also, part of that $750,000 is due to the fact that moved from $1, $3, $5 to $10, $20, $45.
Correct, exactly. A couple of things on this page that may not jump out. First, the New Hampshire retirement rates for the employer side are being adjusted for this next fiscal year. The New Hampshire retirement system adjusts the rates every 2 years, so this is where we see the rate increase. We won't see the increase in fiscal 17, so this is it happens every year in a 2-year cycle. Most of that, I think it's 85 to 90% of what the employers paid, is made to pay up the unfunded actuarial liability from the past. It's actually not as much to cover current employees' retirements as it is to cover where the legislature in the past had not properly funded the formula. Also, there's something else that may not immediately jump out, is that we had significant turnover savings with teachers this year. The teachers that left our district for a variety of reasons, retirement, resignation, non-renewal, the teachers we hired in their place were significantly less expensive than what we had in the past, and so that has offset some of this number a little bit. In other words, had we not had teacher turnover savings, the teacher salary numbers would have been higher in this default budget reconciliation. So how do we go from the default to the proposed? What's different between?
One sec. Can you go back? I'm sorry.
On the, just a quick question. One of the things we learned a few weeks ago is that when teachers retire, there's a possibility we're going to pay for their medical benefits at their then currently funded rate at the year of retirement until they reach eligibility for Medicare, correct?
Correct.
So do we still have a savings? Or is that it, because now we're paying for health care for the retired person plus the newly hired person, even though they're at a lower salary?
Yeah, so for the public's benefit, Mr. Iring's question refers to a clause of the collective bargaining agreement where teachers upon retirement receive a lump sum benefit payment of their salary. And some teachers, there's a grandfathered clause that some of our most experienced teachers will get the benefit from having their insurance paid at the same rate it was paid by the district in the year of their retirement until they reach 65. So we do have to cover those expenses for teachers who opt for that. Included in the budget is that cost. It's $200 and some odd thousand for retiree health care plans for this.
So is there a net savings even with the new teachers, or even with the additional health care costs for?
Yes. And
okay.
We have a significant number of teachers who are retiring at the end of this fiscal year, but those folks, their insurance plan as a retiree won't affect us until fiscal 17, because they're budgeted through fiscal 16 as a regular employee paid insurance plan. So I do expect a hit for that in fiscal 17. So how do we get from the default budget to the proposed budget? And here are all the things that go into that. Largely, this is due to new positions, which we'll talk about in detail. The only thing that's on here that is not related to new positions, maintenance and repair budgets based on 3-year averages of what's expended in our maintenance and repair budgets. That's how we budgeted in our proposed. So those show an increase. We've done more with repairs and maintenance over the last couple of years. As a result, there's higher history there. And transportation, we're planning to add another school bus as we did this past year as well. We did experience an improvement in our transportation route times by adding this additional bus this year. And our plan was to add this additional bus this year, but we delayed it 2 years ago when we didn't add the bus. So this is getting us right where we had planned to be. We don't anticipate adding an additional bus in fiscal 17, so we should hit where we want to be for the next couple of years. Everything else on here is related to new positions that we will be talking about in great detail. So Golden Brook positions, their enrollment is decreasing this year, and so we can reduce 2 classroom teaching positions from that budget through a RIF, or reduction in force, and also move an existing reading specialist from Golden Brook to Center School where there's one that's needed as part of Mrs. Bates' request for position. So instead of keeping the 2 reading specialists we have at Golden Brook, or keeping that position at Golden Brook and adding in a new one at Center School, we're recommending the transfer from one to the other, and believe we can still meet student needs that way. We don't see a need to add teaching positions until fiscal year 18 based on enrollment projections, where we need to add 1 teacher back, but we should be all set in fiscal 17, 19, and 20. So that's kind of the plan. Again, this was a 5-year plan where we looked at staffing, so you can see it in not just in 1 year. You get some context now in terms of what we have to do over the next couple of years. This is the good news. As we move up to middle and high school, you'll see the rest of the story in terms of our staffing requests. Center School is an increase of 22 students. We don't have any classroom positions needed until fiscal year 19. We have limited space to put those teachers anyway, and so that affects those requests. But you can see what class size kind of looks like for grades 3, 4, and 5. It's kind of all in the ballpark of where we want it to be for the next 5 years. What is included in the budget is a case manager for the Gaines program, which is a special education program that has a cohort of students moving to Center School from Golden Brook. And so that position is needed from there, even though the position is continuing at Golden Brook. So my first question was, well, why can't we take the people from Golden Brook and move them to Center School? It's because the program has grown at Golden Brook and now is being extended into Center School. And so that position is included in the budget. Also, there's a receptionist included in that budget we'll talk about when we do the Center School budget, and also the reading specialist I mentioned before. Again, it's a transfer from Golden Brook to the Center School. It's also a transfer from being federally funded to being district funded. All right. Middle school, you can see middle school's had a 37% increase in population since fiscal year 08. There's going to be another 11% increase over the next 4 years in their student population. We don't need to go over the same issues with space needs again. It's a significant concern. We're meeting, as Winfried mentioned at the last meeting, we're having a safety meeting just to talk about how we're going to get through next year with our fire, police, building inspector, those folks. So this is a significant issue. We do see multiple positions needed each year for the next few years just to deal with the student population in that building. In fiscal year 16, there's 2 teachers and 3 support positions that we'll talk about in much greater detail when we go through the middle school budget. And in the high school, you can see this is, there's been a 44% increase in the population just from fiscal year 12. Fiscal year 12 is the first year that the building had all 4 grades. So we're not counting the 2 years before it when we were raising up the grades in the school. Just since fiscal year 12, there's going to be a 44% increase from then until fiscal 22, where we'll hit over 1,000 students in that building. And then the projections show a slight decline after that. And so we've had our directors and our administration there map out what does this look like for for teacher requirements over those years as well to maintain class size that we have. So simply to maintain the class size and course offerings that we have today, that's 18.5 positions over the next 5 years.
And just to be clear, what we're talking about here by hitting 1,000, we're only talking about 9 through 12.
Correct. 9 through 12.
We're not talking about 3rd graders or preschoolers. This is high schoolers.
So fiscal year 16 includes 2 teachers, 1 science, 1 math, although we put a caveat with that. We always look at student enrollments and student course offerings and course selections to determine what positions we hire. So we need a science and math this year, and we know we need an English the next year. But really, it's those 3 positions over the next couple of years, and we can mix and match based on what our actual section offerings are for classes. So right now, it's science and math, but it could be adjusted. A case manager, and then those 2 support positions we'll talk about in greater detail. So all of that, how is the tax impact so low relative to all the additional budget increases that we're talking about? And really, it's because of additional revenues that we have that offset the tax base. We are still going to be about $3 million short of adequacy next year based on what the formula allows. We've talked about this quite a bit. I raised this issue about a year and a half ago with the board to say, just so you're aware, you, Bedford, Dover, and a couple others are the folks in the state that are lagging well behind what you're owed based on the formula. That's about 800 kids, by the way. We're short. We're not being paid for about 800 kids worth of adequacy money. But the flip side of that is they're catching up allegedly with an 8% increase every year. So we get 108% of our adequacy from the previous year in the next year. Assuming the legislature doesn't change that, we have a new legislature who, of course, could look at anything at any time. Assuming that doesn't change, we will see a boost in our adequacy formula, which will offset some of our budget increases. Likely 25 cents per thousand, including the CNA project warrant article for our tax rate. I hesitate to give a tax rate analysis this early in the process, but last year I realized we talked only about the expenditure side, and we showed a significant tax rate impact for all of our budgets and warrant articles passing. That didn't account for things on the revenue side, and so when our tax rate was set, much lower number than what we had projected in terms of a tax rate impact. And so I think I need to provide some kind of projection for you folks. It's going to be somewhere between 17 and 51 cents per thousand, but I think it's likely going to be around 25 cents per thousand.
Mr. Chairman? I'm sorry.
And just to make a note, I mean, this board has to make a decision. We haven't done so yet. But the CIP only, they didn't fund anything, but they recommended $615,000 because we already have $60,000 sitting in existing capital reserve funds. So that's also probably accounting for, at least it did in the spreadsheet, $675, whereas this board may opt, I certainly would recommend that we ask the voters for $615.
Correct. Actually, in the, I'm going to get into this in some detail, but in the tax rate analysis, it has a gross appropriation of $675, and it does show the revenue of $60,000.
Oh, you've got that in there.
So
Okay.
it is accounting for the $60,000 coming back.
Great.
Yep. So what's
Mr. 1 second, sorry.
Jeez.
I was told 50,000 feet, Mr. Senabaldi. I'm doing my best.
I just, real quick, because I was pulling up your presentation you gave us, you said it was like a 2% increase. What was the increase again with the CIP article if it's combined? Did I miss it?
3.57.
3.57, okay.
I think 357.
I'd like to say it all together at the same time, because it is, if it passes, that's our increase.
Yeah, I'll that from the town, include everything when you do that, so I'm trying to include that in here. What's it all for? We have a high-achieving district, and that's what we're, the budget presentation that our senior leadership team and our principals put together that you have in front of you. We started with student achievement data in the beginning, because that's really what's important here. And so available for everyone to see online, we have this presentation, which clearly as we go through the budget process, we'll add to it and change it based on the school board's input and direction. But we started with our academic achievement, things like our highest degree earned by our teaching staff. Almost all of our folks have master's degrees, a significant number of teachers. And so our college acceptances are extraordinary if you take time to read through that list of colleges. And so when we went through the budget process, we talked about the preparation process. We looked at how does what we're doing in our budget reflect on what our goals are in the classroom, and that's what this is all driven by. We then go through and look at our enrollment and say how does enrollment affect what we're doing, and then finally we put together the budgets. So where we go from here is I'd like for this board to provide us some input in terms of what other information you might need to move us forward, because while the presentation does have lots of information, it may not have the information you want or need to help make informed decisions. We'd also encourage members of the board and community to send us questions so we can prepare answers for you, so we can be informed about, we can provide information to you in an appropriate manner. And then on the second, we have the preschool Golden Brook and Center School coming, where we will give a more in-depth presentation, not only about their budgets, but about their position requests that they have. And those administrators will be here to answer questions should they arise. On the 9th, we'll have middle school and high school here, and then we'll look for the board to wrap things up on the 16th and to start moving forward with anything else that needs to be moved forward on our warrant. So that's the presentation. I'd be glad to take questions now or wait for the future.
Taking on to the board?
Well, you said it was a 50,000 foot view. I kind of thought we would just wait till you start doing the individual presentations.
I serve at the pleasure of the board, whatever you folks would like to do.
It's up to you guys. I mean, I am puzzled a little bit when we say 18.5 positions for the high school.
In the next 5 years.
Where are they going to work? In the gym?
No, believe it or not, we have space in terms of moving classes around. However, some of this assumes that third grade's not going to be there forever, Mr. Sinibaldi.
Preschool.
That's right.
Those are some tough assumptions.
Again, adding 200 students to the building over the next 5 years, we can make a decision about class size increasing or adding positions to maintain class size. That's the conversation we need to have.
I think what might be helpful, again, I think this is sort of a fact finding so that the principals know, would be just along those lines. I know that we've spoken in here at length about, say for example, so you say that you need a science teacher. What are the science, what do those class sizes look like right now? Keeping in mind that labs are supposed to be capped at 25 per the state. What do they look like right now? What would they look like afterwards? I know Mr. Dawson's got this great handy-dandy color-coded spreadsheet where everybody moves.
We have all that data.
I think that would be really helpful for the board.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too, because I know when I got the high school data last year of all the different classes and the teachers and how many students per class, I wrote an analysis program that actually graphed it out by both semesters and showed by block, and half the classes were under 15 kids per class. And many of the classes were empty at times. So when I say many, I don't mean, the majority, but I mean there were a significant number of classes that had 0 kids in them. So I'd like to see those numbers before I would have, agreed to add additional teaching staff. I got a few questions. Can I just go through and go on now? Okay, so you mentioned pre-K, Golden Brook, Windham Center School. We're going to meet with those folks on the 2nd, and then Windham Middle School and High School on the 16th?
On the 9th.
On the 9th, okay, right. So it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm making an assumption here that the budgets for those schools are under $2 million total, give or take. It's just under $1 million for the high school, and it's under $300,000 for each of the other 3 schools. So we're under $2 million for those all combined. So Is that what we're going to be looking at on the 2nd and the 9th?
No, we'll also be talking about staffing, which makes up a majority of our budget is staffing as well, so.
Okay, well, yeah, let me be more clear then. I'm looking at this from my perspective as 70, 72%, give or take a few percentage points. It's not discretionary. It's the salaries of the teachers, our employees, the healthcare benefits, all that is off the table. We have no say over that. We're locked in. So I'm looking at this from the remaining monies. There's probably 15 million, give or take. 4 million of that is for the Windham High School bond, so we're down to about 11 million. About 2 million of that is discretionary spending by the principals at those individual schools. So where's the other 9 million? You know, when are we going to talk about that? You know, I'm assuming it's district-wide, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we have a couple million for transportation, we have a couple million for sped out-of-district tuition, you know, things like that quickly add up, and you'll find that the discretionary part, as you know, is relatively little. So that's something we can wrap into all of these discussions if you'd like. The district-wide discretionary budgets are not that extensive, so we can talk about those on the 16th if you'd like. I mean, the board has, it's my recommendation when you wrap up the budget. You might continue this up until the budget hearing that you have in January and continue past that. It's just my suggestion of how you tackle it. It's up to this board to decide.
Okay, I'd like to pull a Bruce Breton.
Fail to enlighten me, I don't know what that means. I gotta think about that one myself.
Well,
There's so many.
He's serving on the Board of Selectmen. He took a year off, but prior to that, he served 9 terms. And from his first year until the last year, and then he had health issues, now he's back on the board. During those 9 years, the tax rate in the town went up, down a little bit, but it was literally to the penny. It was exactly the same the first day he went into office and the last day he came out. And I'd love to see, and every year he says, I'd like to see a 0% increase in our budget. I'd love to see if there's any way we can try to accomplish that. I'm not looking to, to negatively impact or what's going on in the classrooms. I want our kids to get a great education, but, are there things we can put off, for a year? Are there things that we can do that could literally, we're at $24 per thousand. And I've got people coming to me saying, they're at a breaking point. Some people that I know, they're literally trying to decide whether to put food on the table or put heat in their homes. If you speak to Representative Griffin, she'll tell you the same thing. She's been hearing that, she's been telling me that for years. And, we really need to be considerate of the people who have helped build this town. While 3.5% may not seem like a lot, when you calculate that out, it's a significant amount of money. I'm assuming that if we were going to do some quick math, it would be on the town portion, 3.5%. So, which is what, about 36 million is what we're directly contributing to our school budget?
About 75%.
Okay, so if we wanted to do a quick math, would we take 3.57 on that 75% or on the whole number?
This chart right here in my presentation does all the math for it. And so if first of all, in terms of keeping the budget at 0, we simply take out the new bus, maintenance and repairs increase, and all the new positions. And then the default budget 0.15% above current year budget. So that's how we get there on kind of a quick basis. That would have the effect of the tax rate going down based on my calculations. So this includes all of this math right here. Here are the only assumptions in this tax rate analysis. First is that the budget passes. Second, that the warrant article for 675, net 615 passes. I assume that the amount of swept we get from the state education tax goes up. We already have that estimate from the state, so that's a pretty good estimate, 0.7%. I'm assuming we get the additional 8% for adequacy, as I talked about before, which according to the estimate we got a couple of days is true. and I'm assuming our valuation goes up, what it's gone up the last 4 years on average, about 1.17%. If those things happen, if all of those things happen, tax rate goes up 25%. If you take out operating budget...
25 cents.
What did I say?
25%.
25 cents. Cents.
Doesn't go up $4.
Not percent, yeah, cents.
Thank you.
C-E-N-T-S.
So, take average home with $350,000 home, divide that by 4, it's under $100 for the average homeowner in terms of a tax increase for the average homeowner. If you take out the operating budget passing, take out the 675 for the CNA warrant article, and you're going to have a decrease in the tax rate.
One more comment, and then I'll be done unless other questions come to mind. The reason why I'd like to shoot for that is because we have the construction project. It is coming. It is coming. And, I did some rough numbers the other day, and even if we had a $10 million project, with interest and, paid off over 10 years, 15 or 20, we're still talking about $1 million a year minimum that we're going to add on top. That's another 50 cents. Now, 50 cents, that's 24.50, maybe we're up to 25 now, 24.75, 25. We need to be sensitive to how and what we're spending our money on.
Yeah, we are kind of at a critical mass in terms of capital projects. In that, we've been shooting for the fiscal year 17 number, even back 3 years ago when we looked at facilities issue, about how we would fund the bond in such a way to hit that big decline. And so now we're here in terms of if something passed this coming March that was a bond issue, it would fit right into that mold or that decline that's coming next year. So you have $1 million in savings for next year. As I mentioned in my report, I did look out what fiscal 17 looks like, and it is favorable for a number of reasons. First, the bond payment goes down about $1 million. The 675 contribution to the CIP, that won't be a new thing, so it's not going to be an increase in the tax rate if we continue to fund that a second year. Certainly still an expense, but not an increase in the tax rate. New Hampshire retirement system will be in the second year of that 2-year cycle, so that's not an increase. And teacher salaries, because the contract will be expiring with them from a budgetary basis, that doesn't affect the budget. So there will be a separate warrant article if there's a collective bargaining agreement reached between the two sides. So fiscal year 17 is favorable already. I did not anticipate the teacher retirement thing we talked about in terms of the healthcare thing yet, because I don't know how many people will do that. But these are, at the highest level, this is kind of what fiscal year 17 looks like.
Which is 2 years from now.
Correct. Not this year's budget cycle, the next year's.
I would just ask that when we do our presentations per school or whatever, that, for the public's and even for the board's view, just to have a little handout that says, say we're dealing with center school, here's their increase, exactly what it is. Because obviously there's statutory stuff that you can't change no matter what. But for every school in overall budget, there's going to be something that can be increased. I just want to make sure we have that broken out for each group that comes through, just to make it easy for the public, So when they say, well, why aren't they talking about this? Well, that's because that's statutory, and we can't change it. But these 10 items, we can.
Page 22 in the budget presentation has exactly that, the discretionary budgets by building and their increases and decreases.
But I wanted to be able to show if whatever the broken down to the items was causing that.
Sure. Okay.
Just because I think I missed it. We're meeting on the 2nd, the 9th, and the 16th.
We've had those in place for a while, yeah.
Well, I don't remember where it was. Do you remind me?
The high school, and then back here.
And that was part of a previous meeting discussion, or?
We set those into place.
Again, I just missed it.
Over the summer.
I admit I missed it. I was just wondering
Yeah,
where.
over the summer when we went forward with the new workshop structure to discuss the schools.
There was a request from the board, or several board members, to have 2 workshop sessions that the board could really
I don't recall.
sit down and
We did discuss it though, together.
I just want to know why I missed it.
We are not having anything.
And we have one on the 25th too, right?
Oh,
This month?
No.
Oh, you didn't do that?
We didn't do that one.
No, it didn't work out.
About Christmas.
As part of the information that you bring back with the school presentations, can, not only the impact of the additional teaching positions that you're adding, but can you also have them speak to how the reduction at Golden Brook affects, does not affect what they're doing there? You mentioned a multiple-year hiring plan. Could we get a little bit of a glean into, I mean, I know you touched on it gently, but can we get a little bit more specifics on the 5-year hiring plan and where you see that going?
Yep, we have, most of that's in there, but we can, we give you, the only
As
place.
part of the presentation
Yeah.
to the public.
Yep. You're taking notes from me, Diane.
We mentioned, or it was mentioned that we possibly go for a 0 increase, and the comment was to see what we could possibly put off to come to a 0% increase, and that the town had a relatively flat or 0 increase for many, many years. I'm certainly not in favor of that mentality. I'm not interested in putting off things that we need today. And I also think that the town went through a long period of time where they did defer a lot of costs, and it did catch up to us eventually last year. So I'm not in favor of deferring any costs just to try to make a 0% increase. The other thing I'd be interested in hearing from each of the administrators at the individual schools were what were some of the final items that did not make the cut for your budget. I don't want to go crazy. I know I can see you smiling. I don't want to go crazy. But what was, give me maybe one item per school that, or the 2 items per school that were just that final, last minute, should it be there, shouldn't be there, just didn't make the cut. And what the impact or consequences of not including that this year.
Those are going to be positions. I will tell you that the hardest
Again,
conversations
I'm
are all
not,
about
I don't need a 20-minute dissertation on it, just, we chose not to include, case in point, we chose to do 2 positions at the high school,
Not 3.
science and math, not the 3rd, which would have been English. If we had added the English, it would have raised another X number of dollars. However, we felt that would have been, at the high school, the discussion was earlier about class size. I'm also concerned when you discuss positions at the high school, not just class size, but course offerings.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, I've learned through my time there that it's not so much the class sizes that we're going to end up with. It's just that the offerings, as the school has gotten bigger, with my own children, I've seen the offerings get harder and harder to get to, manage your schedule, be able to do everything that you want to do, to have that individual education that we're trying to give the students at Windham High School. Is something that's been very important to us, is that the kids have individual education experiences. Well, that requires certain students that want to take band and Latin 4, or, again, you can't accommodate everybody.
Right.
But there's an offerings issue without those positions. So that was it.
And just for me, just thinking ahead, I think the other thing we're going to want to talk about that's not on there, maybe that's the 16th, is the SAU budget, just in terms of covering that. I'm going to want to know, along those lines, one way or another, I didn't see in here the addition of a facilities manager. I think
Not
that's
included at this point.
right, and I think that's a discussion that we need to have. And the other is why it is the custodial supplies has gone up seemingly exponentially along those lines. Other than that, I don't have any other specifics that haven't already been outlined. Yep.
And to Mike's point, when they talk about the teachers and how they're being utilized, et cetera, when you look at some of these positions, say at Golden Brook or Center School, because we know we have space issues, how are they going to fit in?
Right.
I'll give you, for the benefit of the board, here's what we did. We saw the 37 or 38 position requests that we got this year from the principals. And we said, first of all, no way. And second of all, we have to look at this in a long-term basis, because if you look at it in a vacuum, at 1 year at a time, you see a bunch of new positions, you think, is this going to happen to us every year? It's like a bad, Groundhog Day every year. And so the charge we gave them was, we sent them off with spreadsheets of their building in every classroom for the next 5 years. We said, fill these classrooms based on who goes where, what grade level, what item, and base your staffing off of that, not off of, we think we need 3 more 6th grade positions or something. No, actually fill out your building and then look at class sizes as it affects how you can fill the building. So Mrs. Bates would probably add another teacher or 2 based on class size, but she doesn't know where to put them. So it is all based on actual being able to put them in spaces in the building. It's not done in the abstract from, without considering space needs.
So my question comes down to then, just say everything happened and the stars all aligned, they had all their positions.
Yep.
So we're going up here with some enrollment, all of a sudden we start dropping down. What do you do when your enrollment drops? I mean, how do you?
Yeah, and we've shown that Golden Brook, we're not afraid to do that, based on...
But you can only do that if they're not tenured. I mean, what's
Correct.
No.
No.
Reduction in force cuts across
Financial
tenure.
exigency.
Okay.
Now, we will, as
And that means be holding up, but.
we are trying to fill, rather than hire new, we'll try to move people, as long as they are qualified and certified to do so. They are district employees, so how we put them in the different, and deploy them, that's...
And I don't mean to sound cold about that, but I'm just saying, at some point, all of a sudden, we have, say, 12 extra teachers, and we're just hanging on for them because we're being nice, or do we do a reduction in force because, they're really just being there just because we hired them, we don't want to get rid of them now. So I just want to make sure that can work.
The collective bargaining agreement essentially lays out who.
Yeah. In fact, we did this, actually, this year, too. There was one position that we did not fill. We had to fill half of the position, and I think I shared that with the board, due to special education needs. But even the other half, it's still unfilled right now, and will, unforeseen circumstances notwithstanding, will be returned at the end of the year.
Gotcha.
So we're trying really hard to do that.
The only other, speaking about the RIF process, the only other concern that I have is you got to understand that we don't dictate who gets RIFed. It's dictated by the collective bargaining agreement. So I think if we were a district, which we're not, and we're probably not going to be for the foreseeable future, that was in the process of regularly RIFing teachers every year, you have to understand that, it doesn't mean you're RIFing the lowest performing, the least qualified. That is dictated by the most expensive. That's dictated by the collective bargaining agreement, and in general, they are the least expensive.
Correct.
Yeah, and I get that, I just didn't know if it was.
So there is a cost impact to RIF, because it'll start to skew your average salary if we have to.
I just didn't know, and that was my thing. I didn't know once they got tenured, that was off the table, that's all.
Yeah, ideally, you'd have a retirement, and then, everybody's happy.
And I'm assuming that elementary school teachers there's some shift there.
Most people are certified K through 6 or K through 8. At the middle school in grades 7 and 8, the additional difficulty arises from HQT, highly qualified teacher. They need content certification and knowledge as well. So that's the only caveat there, that we're not really just free to move people K through 8.
All right, looking around, I think we're good. All right, so we'll come back and revisit this after Thanksgiving on the 2nd, Center, Golden Brook, and the preschool. Which means we are moving into housekeeping. So we are looking at the minutes. I didn't have any corrections. Did anybody else?
Hearing no corrections, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 4th, 2014, public session.
The only thing I will suggest is that, I don't really care, but you weren't present.
I was going to abstain when it came to voting.
That's fine with me then, so there's a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Aye. 401, with Mr. Senabaldi abstaining. Great. Now we move into vendor and payroll manifests.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve voucher number 15 in the sum of $52,999.09. Voucher number 1026.
Can you do them separately?
If you want me to, I will.
Please do.
Voucher number, that's right, you always got one in there. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve voucher number 15 in the amount of $52,999.09.
Second. Any discussion?
And that is a payroll manifest.
Mr. Iring, are you all set?
I'm good, yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so that being said, all those in favor? Aye. So that's 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
That's fine. If you want to lump those together, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve voucher number 1026 in the amount of $1,353,791.29.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
And that is once again, payroll deductions, et cetera.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 401, Rickard abstaining.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve voucher number 1027 in the amount of $467,166.21.
And can I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion?
An expense manifest.
I don't want to rush through, are we all set? Okay, so, that being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 401, Rickard abstaining. I signed contract for Ms. Archibald, teacher that the board approved the recommendation of at the last meeting. Board member comments.
I just have one question I want to go back to. I'm just curious, in the manifest today, and I see this every 2 weeks, there's this form, professional development activity request form, right? I'm just curious, we have budgeted professional development funds. Now, it looks like they're not reimbursed, this is for different employees, and they're not reimbursed financially, but they're reimbursed by clock hours, anywhere from 5 hours to 8 hours. Do their salaries get charged against that fund, or is this something that's different?
That is something different. So teachers can take courses, they can take workshops, they can go to conferences, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And it depends on whether we're asking them to go to a conference or workshop, or whether they're going as part of their own professional development plan, how we reimburse them and how we pay them. So
Are we asking them, or is this something they're choosing to do?
I'd have to see the specific one.
Okay. That's just a sample. There's usually half a dozen or more each.
Yeah, so this particular teacher went to a workshop, and the workshop cost $192, and so we reimbursed her for the cost of the workshop.
And then what about her hours? Does that,
Yeah, we logged that into our professional development system to keep track of her recertification process.
and does that get charged to the object code?
No,
It's not hourly. This is the
This is-
record for professional development recertification under my learning plan.
So we paid $192 for the conference, that's it.
Okay. You guys want to see this yet?
That corresponds to the certificate people will get in those courses, the hours, clock hours.
We good?
I'm good, thanks.
Other comments?
One comment for me. I'd like to, with some consensus from the board, I'd like to ask the administration to do a little favor for me. We have, this will be the 4th year the high school band is performing at festivals or competitions. I've been to all of the previous 3 years. We are the only band that doesn't have tuxedos or uniforms. We rely on the students to try to do their best to get their own clothing for these events. I just would like you to, if it's okay with the board, just simply ask for you to take a look at that, why that's the case, is there any reason to make a change there, and if there was an inkling to make a change, to give us some idea of what that cost impact would be.
I have no problem looking at it.
I don't either, especially since just looking through the budget and seeing the amount of money that we're spending in athletic uniforms. I don't have any problem whatsoever looking at it.
Yeah, again, I hate to always be the band guy, but this is the 4th year that our high school band has gone from 40 to 80 folks, and they're traveling literally all over the country performing. And, unfortunately, you have young men trying to buy ties and jackets and shirts, and the girls do their best, but unfortunately, there's even issues with trying to get a uniform look. And I've never, at all the 3 years, I've never seen another band ensemble that wasn't in, I don't know if uniform's the right word, but you know what I mean, in dress attire, whether it's rented, purchased, borrowed. I don't know how they do it. Just take a look and see what the story is there, and maybe give us some idea of why that is, and if there was any reason to change it, what it would take.
I'd love to see that. I think that's worthwhile. All right. I think you got 4 people nodding, at the very least.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Doesn't hurt to look.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to look.
Do those boys' uniforms have green in them? Hey, listen, I gotta have you one every now and then.
I think they're black and white. I think they're all black and white.
One thing I'd like to know, I've got 2 things. One is just something, and this happened actually at the beginning of the year. I just would like to make note, Bob Davis, Mr. Davis, was a custodian in this district for over 20 years, and he retired. And I would just like to thank him in public, let him know that we appreciated his service to the district. He did something that a lot of people don't recognize, perhaps, and that is he helped to keep those schools clean and safe for our kids. And so, Mr. Bob, I want to thank you for that. In addition, just wanted to make note, if anybody, as I do every week, making myself available to the public, I'll be at the Village Bean at 9:30 a.m. on Friday. All right, Mr. Sinibaldi?
We just, I'm not quite sure what this is. We received some invitations here for, appears to be a fundraiser for Nobody's Children.
Yep. It's going to be in correspondence, but let's do it.
Oh, it is in correspondence? Okay.
Covered, you got it.
It is Friday, the 5th of December. It's at Castleton. It's $55 per person. You need to RSVP by the 20th of November, and I guess you can, I don't know if you can post this on the district. I don't know how you get the number and information out without just saying it, but, the lady has an email here of elaine@nobodyschildren.org. That's elaine@nobodyschildren.org if someone's interested. It appears to be Mr. and Mrs. Yorty, which I know.
Dr. Yorty.
Yeah, that's a DR, sorry. Dr. Yorty, but I know they do, I know that they do music stuff and everything. I know I've seen the kids doing piano here. Anyway, so it is a fundraiser of some kind. I don't really know much more about it, but if you contact them, they can tell you exactly what they're raising the money for. I know the Windham Swing Band will be there. There's silent auctions. Dinner at 7:30, cocktails at 6:30. So, that's it.
Mr. Sinibaldi, you want me to keep that at the SAU office if someone wants to call for information?
Mr. Fred?
Sure. So for me, just a couple of things. Obviously, we always hear great stories about, the things that the students are doing on the athletic team. So I don't know if we've discussed in the past, but I congratulate the girls volleyball team on their state championship. And also want to wish, as you mentioned earlier, wish the football team luck on Saturday at UNH. Hopefully we'll have a large contingent of Windham fans that'll go. I know there's probably about 20 to 30 former students and players that are students at UNH, including my son, who are very fired up to be there and get down on the sidelines with Coach Raycraft and his team. And to get to the championship game is incredible. And to have done so twice in the very short history of our high school is pretty phenomenal. And to finish the season off with a win would mean they had a perfect season as well. So heady stuff this weekend, so just want to wish them well and encourage anybody that can intend to go. And the other thing that I'll say is that I wish I could do what the doctor does with the Village Bean visits, but I always want to make sure that people understand that I am reachable. My phone number is on the district website, and they can also reach me via email. Call me at home, call me on my cell whenever they have any questions, concerns, or want to bring something up for the board to discuss. So.
Can I actually do two, and Ms. Kosh might be able to help me on this, two things just from the town side. we have our annual, well, we have our annual tree lighting, but the first one is the senior Christmas party held up at Castleton. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but if you... December 10th up at Castleton. You can contact Ms. Haas for tickets or information about it over here at the Town Administration Building. And then we also have our annual tree lighting, which is on...
December 6th.
I don't have it in front of me.
December 6th.
December 6th. It's a great event for the town. I know we do a lot of stuff over here. I know the church usually has some cookie type things going on. I know there's going to be some, I don't want to say non-public,
Somebody from the North Pole.
nonprofits. We will have somebody from the North Pole, as we do every year, but there'll be some nonprofit stuff going on. It's a great event, it's always well attended. They have bonfires, Boy Scouts, we have the community band plays for quite a while. Santa usually comes riding over on the fire engine, which is always great for the kids. We have pitches that they do for them, so a lot of stuff's going to be happening this year, and just come out. It's always fun.
Everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
I have a quick comment. Just want to reiterate what a special event at the high school yesterday. Chris Herron came in, and I was just looking through my notes from the last school board meeting, because I really want to express gratitude again for the businesses that paid for that event. And I thought it was in our agenda, but it's not in the copy that I have. So I know it was Linda Nutter, and I hate to leave out the other organizations. I think what I'll need to do is write a letter to the paper and thank them, because it was quite an experience for our kids. And I was expressing to a few people that out of all the things that we could be doing for our children, I thought that was a wonderful, wonderful, thoughtful, and generous gift that they gave. Because you can talk to your kids about drugs, you can talk to them about alcohol. We all grew up. We all know that nothing's ever going to happen to us. But when you have a guy who literally was in the NBA, and he had a very short career, and he had a very tough time for, I think he said, 15, 17 years battling his demons. And I was just very grateful. His openness, his honesty. Great, thank you. So I think it's appropriate just to let everybody know again that, who paid for this and who even came up with the idea. And it was an honor to be able to prove that as a school board member. The donations came from...
Start with McKenna's. Did you find it?
Yeah, Susan McKenna's, Windham Pilates and Wellness Center, Colleen Mitchell, Merrimack Mortgage, Monique Donovan, Donovan Law Office, Shannon DePietro, Coco Early and Associates, Robert Young, North Star Financial Planning, and Jessica O'Neill, State Farm Insurance. It was really wonderful. So thank you to all of you for your generous gift.
I know my son raved about it. He thought it was a great presentation. He said it was very motivating to listen to the guy. And that's from a 9th grader.
He is very good.
Very inspiring.
Well, it kind of sounds like we're ending the meeting all of us very thankful. On that note, good night, Cable. Thank you. Wait. Are we doing non-public? Oh, my goodness, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn.
A for effort, though. A for effort.
Yes, sir, Mr. Senabaldi. I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, B, and which one covers? What covers,
reputations is C.
C, what covers property? E, C and E. B, C and E.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call. Mr. Breton.
Aye.
Mr. Jonas. Aye. Mr. Eyring.
Aye.
Mr. Senabaldi. Aye. Chair is aye, 5-0. Now, thank you, Cable.